This is the Rich Eisen Show.
All rise. Here comes
the Rich Eisen Show.
It's never enough.
At work, I play it all day, every day.
You guys are the bomb.
Live from the Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles. Today's guests: MMQB senior writer Albert Breer, San Francisco 49ers general manager John Lynch, Sunday Night Football analyst Cris Collinsworth, plus actor and comedian Billy Gardell. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
All right, welcome to this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. We are live here in Los Angeles, California, knocking on wood. We are well and all happy, and good to see Chris Brockman, good to see Mike Del Tufo at their posts. Good to see everybody out there on our YouTube stream. That's how we are showing our first hour every single day at noon Eastern Time. You can hear us right here on Sirius XM channel 211, Dan Patrick Radio, right after DP is done with his show at the Danettes. We are pleased to be right after that, and we are pretty pleased that you are with us. And BCSN will turn their cameras on us at 1 Eastern Time. That's where we got John Lynch first up. Albert Breer is going to be first up on this program. And then John Lynch, the general manager of the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers, will call in from his, I'm assuming, from either line 1, 2, or 3.
Just pick one.
I cannot get enough of all the general manager and coaching.
Dude, they're so awesome.
Makeshift home draft war rooms, okay?
And I also love seeing all of them compared to Gettleman.
Yeah, I know.
Well,
he's the
floor.
The sparsest one.
He's the floor.
So how about this? Mike, Chris, let's all right here, right now, choose which phone do you think he's calling us from, 1, 2, or 3.
Okay.
You get the first pick, Mike. I don't know what's on the line here.
Center 2.
Center 2. What do you take, Chris? I'll take the last one. I don't care.
I'm going to take left, number 1.
All right, I would have gone right. I would have gone 3.
So we're good.
Phone number 3.
I got door number 2.
Oh, by the way, Don Bowie, our coordinating producer, executive producer, inside his office, says he's going cell phone.
Whoa.
Going off the board.
You think those are like direct dials that just
Will
go
he
to...
speakerphone us?
And he's going to conference in this guy. He's going to merge a call.
I mean,
He's going to
There's
merge
no
the
way
call.
Gettleman knows how to merge a call. There's no way Gettleman can figure that out.
Going to merge the call. That's a phone. Put that back up one more time, Don. That's a cell phone to Gettleman's left. Screen right, isn't that? Or there's his glass cases. Is that a glasses case?
Yeah, looks like a glasses case. Does he even have a phone in this room?
Just look at that. I mean,
Carrier
he's got
pigeon.
one computer and one huge-ass binder. Do you think he's added more?
Yes.
He's had to have added more, right?
Yeah, maybe.
I bet he added a lamp because it's going to be it's going to be nighttime. The draft is in prime time.
He's got a lamp.
Later on NBCSN, let's hold it off. I've got Les Sneed set up. I'm now reaching out to people saying you got to send me your setup.
We want to see them all.
I want all.
Okay, Thomas Dimitroff says he's going to send me one as soon as he's done with his ride. He's on a ride right now. Of course he is.
Of course he is.
And by a ride, what he means is he's trying to trade up into the top 5 of the draft. I think that's what he means by
How about
ride.
that spicy rumor yesterday?
I've asked Jason Light for his situation, asked Sean Payton for his situation. We'll see who responds. John Schneider of Seattle's.
All right, let's go, baby.
And that's, of course, it all started with this one. This is like the
Right.
George Washington of the movement.
I mean,
The Christopher
Peter
Columbus.
King got this one a few weeks. Yeah, it was the Christopher Columbus. No, or the Pilgrim. He was the Pilgrim of it.
The Pilgrim.
He landed on that Plymouth Rock. Right there. Can't get enough of it. And then, so the thing we're going to ask of John Lynch is like, so how brutal was it? Do you have the Schefter tweet? I'm sorry, Don. I'm requesting stuff as if you can just pull it up, lickety split. And I guess you've spoiled me.
He's only one man back
I know
there.
he's a one-man
It's just
band back there.
one
I
man.
know. But the Schefter tweet you should have on at the ready as well from yesterday, where it took all of apparently 2-3 minutes for the mock draft. This is what it's all based on. All the general managers and coaches in their respective home draft rooms using the new telecommunication and computer communication system to hold this draft on Thursday night. They had to have a run-through. We have a run-through. This is what we do in television. We rehearse it, right?
We rehearse everything, Rich.
So That's what rehearsals are for.
Exactly.
Is to rehearse, get through the kinks.
Work the bugs.
But how many times do we put rehearsal on the air? Never.
Never.
It's never. It's kind of like Fight Club. You don't talk about it.
You don't talk about them.
Because it could be my fault as the host. It could be more likely your fault, Mike.
Okay, I mean,
as the audio executive. No.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? It's like it's a team effort here, even though I kind of just threw you under the bus.
Everywhere.
It's your fault, maybe my fault, could be both of our faults. That's why we worked through it, so there's nobody's at fault.
Yep.
But unless you've got an agenda and you don't think the draft should happen, you're going to basically text Adam Schefter and say, this sucks. As somebody did. And rightfully so. This was at the end of our second hour of our show yesterday.
Yeah.
And rightfully so. Adam's like, this. If I got something like that, that's news.
For sure.
He pops it up there. Quotes it. Mock draft today, already technical glitch with Cincinnati's first pick. 3 exclamation points. Brutal. How brutal was it? That sounds like an old match game, you know. Old man general manager who doesn't want to do a draft says the first mock draft went down and it was blank. I'll say brutal. I'll say brutal, Gene. Yes, that's a match. Ding, ding, ding. That's a match. So, at any rate, we'll ask John Lynch his thoughts on it. Another John who is a decision maker of note, John Elway. You have that soundbite, Mike Del Tufo? John Elway was asked about this, I believe, in an interview just this morning, what he thought about that mock draft and what went down yesterday.
The draft went smooth. It got off to a little bit of a hiccup when we first started, but other than that, it went really smooth. There were really no problems with it, so we got more comfortable with it. So it should be fine and go on without a glitch. I'm sure there'll be a couple glitches here and there, but actually for the first time, I thought it went pretty well. It's more difficult not being able to sit in the same room and talk, so it slows things down a little bit. Unpredictability, I guess I wouldn't see that because I think people may be sitting more in their spots than they have in the past, and therefore make it more predictable.
There you go. Hiccup. Now, hiccups can be brutal, right? Don't you think?
Hiccups are painful sometimes, too.
Hiccups can be brutal, and there you have it. John Lynch will be joining us. He's got 2 first-rounders. He's got 13, and then you reverse at 31. That's what he's got. Sure looks like he's going to have his choice of wide receivers.
A lot of rumors about those 2 picks, though.
That he's going to trade out?
Yeah.
Well, 31 is a perfect spot for somebody who wants to pop back in and maybe get a quarterback and get a 5th year of control on a quarterback.
That seems like a Jalen Hurts slot at 31.
Or it could be Jordan Love. I've got some...
You think he's going to last that long?
Dude. Wait till you see... I don't know. This is a tease. Tomorrow night on NFL Network, 6 Eastern Time. 9 Eastern Time, I believe. 6 Pacific. That's at least when I'm planning to settle down in my home office desk left position.
I was just going to say.
Desk left position.
Set 2.
Desk left position. Later on today.
Stage 2 at the Eisen house.
Stage 2 at the Eisen
Later
house.
on, stage 2. Stage 2.
Stage 2.
Desk left position in my house. I will be settled in to rehearse today because we're rehearsing. We got to get the kinks out. Daniel Jeremiah's in his house. I'm in my house. Every single other person, line producer, coordinating producer, director, all in their respective houses, by the way. Can you imagine what's going on with NFL Network right now and the technology and how everybody's pulling this thing off? They went live, I think, for 5 hours yesterday. I think Good Morning Football is now live again. Hats off to all my colleagues at the NFL Media Group right now. But we have to rehearse this stuff. Wait till you see Daniel Jeremiah's mock draft. I have seen it. He does not do mock drafts. As you know, he does top 50 players up to this point.
Of course.
Wait till you see, and I'm not just saying that just to draft. I mean just to tease. Well, I am teasing a little bit. What he is saying, there will be some valuable people there in the 31st spot for John Lynch to say who wants to come get this person.
Interesting.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So there's that. And I have been given a green light, unless the red light comes in the next 51 minutes.
Okay.
To lead the NBC SN broadcast. Actually, I just got the green light. Hold on a minute. I got to respond now.
We're going to do it right now?
I got half a green light.
So this is from NFL PR?
Yes.
Okay. And this is about...
I have been told who my first half hour of guests are on the Draft-a-thon.
Okay. So we have multiples.
Multiples. It's a Zoom room. The idea is just to have them in.
Have
some go in and out. Some
flow.
have to go in and out because they've got stuff to do.
Okay.
And others are going to Zoom in, and they're welcome to stay as long as they want.
All right, I like that.
And that first person is Kevin Hart. He's up at 7:30, and I do believe he is slated to stay for the first half hour. He's more than welcome to stay for the next. And I've been told who the first player co-host is for the first hour of the draft. So when the first 5 picks are on the board, this guy's going to be with me and Dion.
Okay.
In the Zoom room with more and more people being added.
We going to announce or are we going to wait?
I don't know. I would love to announce every last name right now. All I know is that from...
Can we guess?
All I know is that from Sunday to Monday, the guest list improved 1,000,000%.
Okay.
And I would love to be able to announce who they are at full, but I don't know. I got kind of half a green light right now because, it's scheduled to appear.
Sure. But are we talking like Super Bowl champions?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Like, that's kind of what you need to have on your resume to get in the first half hour.
So that's like getting past the velvet rope
This is a velvet rope
flash a little ring situation.
Dude, it's the first ever draft-a-thon. It's in support of 6 charities on the front lines of fighting COVID-19 and supporting those who are being ravaged by it. All right? So this is the NFL wants to roll this thing out.
Are there levels of VIP like Del Tufo's birthday party?
Yeah, you see, it should be levels.
There's
Zoom
only
one.
it appears there's only one level for the NFL players.
Okay.
It appears to be only one level.
Boom.
That's it.
Hall of
For the first half
Famers?
hour.
Hall of Famers or the active player? We know Dion, of course, but
both.
Okay.
Both.
Oh, I know one.
First ballot guys.
I know one that might be in there.
Who's that?
Okay.
I can neither confirm or deny. I've just gotten half a green light.
Tight end.
Tight end that you were going to eat a hat?
Gronk? No.
What about? Well,
Shoot, I just said I can never confirm or deny, and I just
See,
denied.
we got him.
I don't know. It could be added.
It could be.
Yeah.
He's doing everything these
Could
days.
be added.
Perfect.
What exactly would Gronk's draft analysis look like?
I'll be great.
That'd be great.
Be great.
Well, I mean, I'd love. Look, everybody's got a draft night story. Every single human
Remember,
has a
he
draft
went on
night story.
the stage with his whole family, and they were dancing.
That's
Well,
right.
he was waiting because he slipped all the way to the second round
Yeah.
because of his back
Right.
That's right.
issues.
Him and his giant crazy family.
giant
That's right.
crazy family.
We're on
Family.
Yeah, we were introduced to the Gronks, right? We were introduced to the Gronks just like that. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. Again, it starts at 7:30 Eastern Time. Dion and I will be in this Zoom draft room that will be broadcast on the NFL's social media platforms. Twitter, Facebook, Twitch, Yahoo Sports will have it. YouTube will have it. Reddit will have it. It'll be everywhere. We're blasting everywhere. And I will be in desk right home position for that. Desk right. Stage one.
Stage one.
Stage one.
What's
of my
the
home office.
what's the wardrobe situation for the mock draft?
Great question.
Because I know in the past on NFL Network, you're going polo shirts.
I don't know, man. Look, when was the last time you spent your entire... I know we come here for this show, then we go in quarantine for the rest of the day.
Right.
Weekends. I rarely ask another human being this question, let alone on live YouTube stream. Do you put on pants?
No.
Okay.
No, they're shorts. Shorts.
But are you going to go full suit for the draft?
No way. No.
No,
They've already... That was one of my first questions. They're like laid back.
Okay.
Seriously, if my kids come in the room, my kids come in the room.
And you have to get up and they show you?
Dylan, my white English golden rescue,
Dylan.
has because I've got like a double door situation. It's an older house that we haven't fixed the door. We haven't replaced doors. I mean, it's the last thing we're gonna do. But the doors are like these old doors that just shut and then kind of snap into place. That a dog's snout could easily pop right open. So I have dog situations. I've got kid situations. You know what it's like the week we were Zooming?
Oh, yeah.
You heard Cooper and
was like a
Xander in
basketball game up
the
top.
boys' room is directly upstairs from me, right? And you could hear them playing, hoops in their room. So if you hear all the thuds,
I mean, the gym's open.
So John Lynch is going to be first up on the NBCSN broadcast at the top of the next hour, and then Cris Collinsworth at the top of our final hour of Sunday Night Football. Of course, Pro Football Focus as well. He is as locked in as anybody on the draft. And then from Hearts Abishola, everybody, on CBS, which airs Monday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time on CBS. You can rewatch it all the time on CBS All Access. Billy Gardell, diehard Steelers fan. He was supposed to be on our show in December and had to cancel because he lost his voice screaming at the final Browns-Steelers game. You remember that one?
I do.
He's that diehard.
He's great.
And I also do have, from what I've been told, an exclusive photograph of Les Sneed's draft room situation. And I've been promised Thomas Dimitroff's is coming. Jason Lights is coming as well. So that's all happening, all right? 844-204-RICH is the number for you to dial. Albert Breer, my friend from Sports Illustrated, he was kind enough to talk about the NFL Draft-a-thon and how we're trying to raise as much money for charity to fight COVID-19 and provide some relief for those who need it. He wrote about it in his MMQB, and Albert Breer joins us 2 days before the NFL draft right now. How are you, Albert?
I'm doing good, Rich, and I promise I'll proofread better next time.
Yeah, it's okay.
I hate to screw up people's names.
I can't leave well enough alone, Chris, as you know. Plus, I like making people's lives better,
of course,
through me, right?
Sure.
And plus,
if not you, who?
And plus, for those who are constantly on deadline and writing like Albert, they need somebody with a University of Michigan diploma to proofread for them and be their own personal spell check.
Come on, Albert, you knew it was coming.
Well, hey, then I guess I'll just have to settle for what happens in late November then.
Yes, you can.
Hey.
I know. I think that's when they postpone the spelling bee too. I think that's what he's referring to. Okay. Yeah, there were a couple of spelling. And so I texted you, Albert, and you fixed it. So it's all good, man.
Oh, I appreciate. I actually did appreciate that.
That's what you get when you interview me for a column. I'll read it, and I'll proofread it, and I'll always try to help. So, 2 days before the draft, where are we on the Joe Burrow front? There's still nothing afoot, right? This is going to happen. He's going to go to the Bengals, and he will be wherever he is, holding up a Bengals jersey or a hat in his home quarantine with his family, perhaps. That's what's going to happen Thursday night, right?
Yep. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because he's been in Athens, Ohio for the last month. And, fortunate enough for him, a couple of his best friends from high school were twin brothers who were tight ends for Ohio University and just finished up there. And so he's had a couple of guys he's been able to throw to over the last few weeks and just sort of keeping himself in shape and everything else. There aren't going to be any surprises here. I can tell you going all the way back to really since the Combine, the Bengals have maxed out the allowable time with Burrow. And, as everything's been with Burrow up until now, it's really been more geared towards getting him ready to play quarterback in the NFL. He told me that he's sort of tried to use being the first pick or the presumptive first pick to his advantage, where he's not as worried about pro days or getting ready for the Combine or any of that. He's just really focused on getting himself ready to play in the NFL. My understanding of these meetings that he's had with the Bengals, and they're allowed, 3 one-hour Zoom meetings every week, have really been geared towards getting him ready to be the quarterback of the Bengals. So, I mean, unless this is all the biggest smokescreen we've ever seen, Joe Burrow is going to be the quarterback of the Cincinnati Bengals on Thursday night.
And any chance Washington turns the number 2 overall pick into a who wants Tua, who wants Herbert, or that is just still so up in the air, it's going to be Chase Young 10 minutes in, and then we move on to that question for the Lions. right?
Yeah, I mean, I remember talking to somebody at the combine who's very close to Ron Rivera, who said, mark it down in Sharpie. He's taking Chase Young second overall. So I think that's been the plan all along. But I'll give Rivera and Kyle Smith and the guys there credit. I mean, really the idea here was to make sure that they had a full idea of the landscape. So that's why you look at Tua. I talked to somebody there who said, we just need to make sure we're not passing on Michael Jordan here. And then, I think the other benefit you get from kicking the tires on Tua is that maybe you smoke out an offer from somebody who gets a little uncomfortable when you're doing that. And, of course, then you maybe light a little fire under Dwayne Haskins. And so I think sort of the plan all along has been to take Chase Young second overall, which, I mean, could wind up really doing for them what Draft-a-thon did for the Niners last year, where you have all these first-round picks in the defensive line group and, a generational talent comes in and sort of puts it over the top. I don't expect any surprises. I think as we expected going all the way back to January, it's Burrow, it's Young, and then the draft really starts at 3.
Well, Albert Breer here on the Rich Eisen Show. Suss out for me where the Tua question mark comes from. Is it all the hip? It's got to be, because for years, 2 years, he looks off the safety in a national championship game. He wins it. He wins the job from Jalen Hurts. And then now here we are after a year and a half of everybody basically saying how special this kid is. It's now time to draft him. And you're hearing some people say, not all that. And as a matter of fact, lower body injury after lower body injury after lower body injury. And now here we are in the world of COVID-19, and doctors can't physically see him over. And so teams are going to get scared off. And then half the other people are saying he's still the bomb. So what's going on here?
I think his tape is special. In fact, the only question, on his tape, from the people I've talked to, there's the same arm strength question that you have with Burrow. But really, as far as how he played, the only question that I've really heard is, well, he had great players around him. So what's it going to look like when those windows are a little smaller and he's not throwing to a group that's so much better than 90% of the players they play against, and that's Jerry Jeudy and Henry Ruggs and Devontae Smith and having 2 first-round tackles and all that different stuff. But, yeah, the injuries are really the question. It's not just a hip, Rich, it's a multitude of injuries. He got hurt in high school. He had the 2 tightrope surgeries on his ankles. That's a new surgery, so you don't know what that's going to look like 5-6 years down the line. And then there's the hip on top of it, where you're not truly out of the woods as far as the blood flow issue until you get 9 to 12 months post-op. And so it's the full picture of everything, that he hasn't been able to stay healthy. And the other thing here, Rich, too, it's easy for us to say it's bad luck, but if you look at history over the last 10 years, and I know we've been over this, but every single quarterback who came into the league with significant injury history in the first round got hurt again. And Bradford in 10, Locker in 11, Griffin in 12, Mariota in 15, Wentz in 16, Watson in 17. All of them carried injury history into the pros. All of them got hurt again as pros. And so, the thing about it is, Rich, when you draft a quarterback that high in the first round, you're literally tying your livelihood to the guy. Whether or not you make it as a head coach, whether or not you make it as a general manager, is literally tied to that person. And so you have to look at everything, and the injuries are certainly a part of the picture with Tua.
Okay, so now the Lions are on the clock at 3. We're now 48 hours away. This is so exciting. Like, we're 2 days away. The speculation is now at a fever pitch, as well as the answers are so close to actually being provided. Lions make this pick? What do you think? Or they trade out?
I think they're having a hard time shopping it. And I think both the Lions and the Giants, believe it or not, despite Dave Gettleman's history, would love to get out and would love to move down. And so, I think they have 2 players, and one's Ohio State corner, Jeff Okudah. The other is Auburn defensive tackle, Derek Brown. That I do think they'd be comfortable taking at 3, but they'd rather get those guys at 5 or 6 than they would take them at 3. And so, they're doing all this. They try to drum up a market for the pick. Again, I think the consensus has been that there's really 4 elite defensive players in this draft. And if they can trade down, let's say, the Dolphins or Chargers, then they would still be in range to get one of those guys. And so I don't think it's that they don't like the guys that are sitting there. I think it's just they feel like the value would be much better if they got those guys a couple picks later down the line and were able to add some capital on the back end.
Where's Isaiah Simmons? When the guy ran at the Combine and performed at the Combine, it was insane, and we all know what he looked like when the chips were down in January. So where is he right now, Albert?
You know, the question is with him, what you do with him. And,
right.
You know, like that, I mean, you really have to have a plan. You know, you're not going to line him up as a traditional linebacker. You're not going to line him up as a traditional safety. And, you know, to be fair, a lot of the same questions were asked about Derwin James when he came out. And we saw with the Chargers moving him around what they were able to do. So there's a way to do it, but you just have to have a plan with him. And so, you know, the perception I had going into this process, which was really interesting, was that those three Patriot teams, the Patriot-connected teams, the Lions, the Giants, and the Dolphins, would all have a way to use him because those defenses like the movable pieces. I don't get the sense that any of those three are going to take him. Even the Dolphins, who I think could wind up passing on a quarterback and taking a tackle, I think he could wind up slipping just a little bit. And to me, I think the floor for him would probably be the Cardinals at number 8. So I don't think he's going to fall too far, but I just think this question of what you do with him and how you use him is an important one. And if you're a rebuilding team, sometimes it can be hard to have that like first piece of your rebuild on one side of the ball or the other be a guy who maybe you don't have a defined plan for.
Albert Breer here on the Rich Eisen Show. So let's say it all goes chalk, that everybody picks in the spot where it'll be Detroit picking, and they go with the guy that every mock draft has essentially had going to them since the minute the season ended, and then Darius Slay gets traded, so everybody slots Okudah in there. And then 4th overall, you got the Giants. They take either maybe Simmons, Brown, or they get a protector for Daniel Jones. None of them, the reason why I'm mentioning this, are named Tua or Herbert. Dolphins go 5.
Right.
What do you got for me 48 hours from the draft, Albert?
All right, so the Dolphins to me are a pressure point there where you hear some stuff that they could take a tackle and maybe come back and get Jordan Love later.
Wow, that would be something.
I think it's been a point of discussion in their organization. I think the idea of even waiting another year's come up. The problem with that is you've got to be bad again, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's a tough pill to swallow if you've already done it once. Where, like, if you're saying, okay, we're going to wait till 2021. Well, you're going to have to be the worst team in the league to get Trevor Lawrence because I don't think anybody's going to be trading out of one next year.
Correct.
And, you know, you're probably going to have to be bad to get any of the quarterbacks at the top of the draft. And so I have a hard time swallowing the Dolphins just completely passing on the position. And I think if they do stick, I think they would take Justin Herbert over Tua. I can't find anybody who thinks they're taking Tua. But I have heard that little kind of nugget there that maybe they take a tackle and think that they can get Jordan Love later on. So definitely some moving pieces with them at 5, and then, of course, at 6 with the Chargers, who I think would be in play for Tua. I think would be in play for Herbert and, you know, again, another team that you look at and say maybe they take a tackle at 6. So there's a lot of smoke out there on both those teams, but those two are certainly sort of the pressure points for the quarterback position.
Let me make sure I heard that correctly. You, Albert Breer, Sports Illustrated Albert Breer, MMQB Albert Breer, have not spoken to a soul in the last 24 or 48 hours, what have you. You didn't add that time frame. I'm throwing that out there. You haven't spoken to anybody who thinks the Dolphins are taking Tua at 5 if there's a choice between Tua and Herbert. You know, is that correct?
And you know what the beauty of it is, Rich? Maybe that means they are taking him. But I can just tell you, I mean, I've talked to people who know people who've gone through that building. I cannot find anyone who thinks they're taking Tua. And again, this might be the world's biggest smokescreen, and maybe it's Chris Greer's intention to get that out there so they don't have to trade up. But I'm just telling you, like everything that I've heard as far as them at quarterback has pointed away from Tua Tagovailoa. And you know, the one nugget I can give you here that's sort of interesting, I've heard that Justin Herbert has a fan in that organization. You know who that is?
Stephen Ross?
Dan Marino.
Oh, I've heard of him. Okay. Well, it's better than Laces Out Ray Finkel. What about Marino? Walk me through that one.
Well, I mean, he's done. He's sort of tangentially involved in everything else, and so
Sure.
he was part of the. He'd sort of like jumped into the process and had done some work at the Senior Bowl, and obviously Herbert had a really strong Senior Bowl week, and so I've heard that he likes Herbert. So that's sort of an interesting nugget there. I think. Part of it for the Dolphins, of course, is, sort of looking at their 3 first-round picks and knowing the reality is that Joe Burrow's not an option for them, right? Like, so you look at the picture of it, and, I think part of it is they know they have to fill their tackle need, and how do you view Tua's medicals, and then how do you view Jordan Love versus Justin Herbert? It's interesting the way all of those pieces have moved, but I have not talked to anybody who thinks the Dolphins are taking Tua. Again, that might mean they're taking him. We'll see.
Wow. Chris Brockman, could you imagine if that happens on Thursday night? Could you imagine?
How fast do the Chargers get their pick in?
What do you think? Is that a proper supposition that the Chargers would be all over Tua on the spot?
I would just say this: Tom Telesco's as good as anybody at keeping his cards close to the vest, and I have a harder time pegging them. It's just with them, it's like you hear they like Tua. The medical is a point of discussion. Herbert is obviously could be in play, and they might have to make a decision on him. And I've also heard that they'd like to fill their tackle need. But I mean, the one thing to remember, my mock's going to go up, I think, later today. Have them taking Tua. One thing that's sort of interesting is that they pick high in the second round too, and so the Chargers could actually move back into the bottom of the first round if they wanted to go and take care of the tackle need there. And so, I mean, it's fascinating, Rich, because the closer we get to the draft, you start to hear more of this, buzz around both those teams picking at 5 and 6 that they really want to take care of their tackle need, and it's hard to decipher what's smoke and what isn't, but. I think it's certainly, you look at the makeup of the class and sort of how you can poke holes in every quarterback who's not named Joe Burrow, and we're going to have a lot of intrigue on Thursday night.
Yeah, I bet. Albert Breer here on the Rich Eisen Show. What are you hearing about the rumor of my next guest, John Lynch, trading one, if not both, of his first-round picks, and who would be the ones moving up? What are you hearing about the big moves that could be made on Thursday night out of the top 10?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the way the Niners draft picks sort of set up, they got the 2 first-rounders. They don't have a 2. They traded that for D Ford, and they don't have a 3 or 4. Those went to Denver in the Emmanuel Sanders deal. And so they'd like to fill in that gap that they have. I think they'd rather trade 31 than 13, but I think they're open to both. And so, I think really sort of this is an organizational thing, and you know that organization, Rich. Everything they do, very, very well thought out and planned. This is all sort of part of this plan that they put in place when they traded DeForest Buckner, who's one of their best players. And they wanted to build up some draft capital. They knew they weren't going to be able to keep both Buckner and Armstead. And so they chose to keep the guy who cost a little bit less, traded the guy who had a little more trade value. That allowed them to keep Jimmy Ward, their safety also. And now they're resetting sort of their financials because they know with some of the guys they have to pay, they may get a little top-heavy over the next couple of years, so they're going to need to have young talent on the roster. So they're going to try and accumulate some picks. I would say a couple things to watch with them, like Henry Ruggs would be one name to watch, who I've heard they like a lot.
Why not?
And then the left tackle position would be another. Joe Staley, they're expecting him back, but they're eventually going to need to replace him. So I'd watch that position with them as well. And as far as other teams that are going to move, Detroit, of course, is one that could move down. I would put the Raiders into that group, too, as a team that's maybe looking to move down and fill that second round hole. 3 teams looking to move up: Atlanta, Tampa, and Denver. And keep an eye on the Jacksonville Jaguars at 9. They may not only move down, they may wind up moving some assets out to 2021. I've heard some teams around the league sort of refer to them as, quote-unquote, the Trevor Lawrence team, that may be doing now what Miami was doing last year, try and set themselves up to get their quarterback in 2021.
Wow. Okay. So, that means then why would they hold on to Ngakoue? Certainly when Ngakoue and Tony Khan are just making this even uglier on Twitter. What's going on, right? I mean, and that would make sense about getting Fournette out, just like cleaning it all out. And that would also mean that they would not go after Cam or Jameis, or if Andy Dalton does become expendable in the next 48 hours with the drafting of Burrow, go in that direction, right?
Right, and I think you could get creative with it. One thing I put in my column last night that I thought somebody's just sort of floated this to me, and it would take a lot of doing because you have to get Yannick signed and everything else. But I mean, how about this? If you can't get a first-round pick for Yannick, what if Yannick is part of a trade down, right? So say, and I'm just going to throw this one out there, say Tampa or Denver want to tackle, okay? So then maybe you package Yannick with the 9th pick, you trade him for whatever it is, 14 or 15, right? And then you get the next year. And then you've added a one to kind of your war chest for 2021. I could see them doing some creative things there, again, like the Dolphins did last year, where they sort of recognize they put themselves in this position from a cap standpoint, where it's been hard for them to do anything in 2020. And so maybe 2020 becomes their sort of clear the books year, and they set themselves up for 2021, where maybe they're drafting high enough to get the quarterback of the future, and they've got a lot of other picks to put talent around them.
I love this stuff. Albert Breer of Sports Illustrated joining me here on the Rich Eisen Show. A few minutes left. I've got, again, John Lynch coming up in about a half an hour or so. What did you hear about the mock draft and how that went down yesterday, Albert?
There were some technical difficulties at the beginning. What was less clear was whether or not it was on the team side or the league side. I actually heard there was some issues with muting and unmuting, and that's pretty relatable for me because the Zoom meetings and the Microsoft Teams meetings.
Right.
I've made that mistake a few times myself over the last few weeks. I heard it was a little bit rough at the beginning, but they worked through it. And part of the reason it was rough at the beginning was the league threw a bunch of trades out there to start with. So, I'd heard, for example, there were some hiccups when the Cowboys made a mock trade with the Bengals. Don't anybody think that means the Cowboys are trading up for Joe Burrow. I don't want anybody to take that and run with it, but there were some hiccups there early on, and then once they got past that, I heard it was fine after that. The technology worked fine and everything else. And so there was I think there were some, a little bit of let's get used to this early on. And I think we had to throw some curveballs in there. There were a few issues early on, but it felt to me having talked to people in the aftermath that, once they got through the first half hour or so, things were pretty smooth. And so the guys I talked to at least are confident that the technology is okay. The one thing that they're a little kind of iffy on is, are the trades going to be smooth? And how often is the league going to have to stop the clock to facilitate trades? But other than that, it sounds like it went okay.
So from your conversations, whoever was in charge of the mock draft to get everybody together through this entire process in the deep end of the pool by not just having Cincinnati select Joe Burrow, they went ahead and had a team down in the 20s try and pull off a monster huge trade for number 1 overall and see how that worked with teams communicating with each other? Is that what they did?
Yeah, I mean, that was what I understand. I heard the first few picks, they were throwing trades out there, and how would we deal with this? How would we deal with that? I guess what you're saying is the proverbial Julio Jones trade or the Patrick Mahomes
what I'm just saying
trade,
is
right?
you could crawl before you walk, but I understand that might not happen if the Bengals decide to pull off the huge trade at the very top. You got to get that out of the way, I guess. That would be the ultimate shocker that you have to prepare for, that as soon as the commissioner steps up to his basement podium and says, I've put in a load of laundry, the Bengals are on the clock, that at that point in time, anything can happen. So, yeah, I guess they went complex right off the bat. And if somebody, I'm serious, if a general manager is sitting at home, again, telling whomever, what groceries are needed, and they forget to mute their phone, and Jerry Jones is trying to talk to Mike Brown, that might be difficult. I can kind of picked that up about. But we also heard there was a bandwidth problem. I don't know what that meant. I'm not an IT or an AV expert, but that's what we were seeing on Twitter and whatever.
I wonder how much of that, I don't know how much of that was the muting issue, and I don't know. That part of it, I don't know. I do know this, though. I mean, there are going to be a lot of people on there. I mean, the way it's going to set up is they're all going to be in a Microsoft Teams meeting. And, again, I don't know what the capabilities of these programs are offhand or anything like that, but my understanding of it, the way they're going to set it up is that each team is going to be able to designate 3 people, right, that are going to be in this Microsoft Teams meeting. I don't know how many people the league's going to have involved, but if you do 3 times 32, that's 96. So it stands to reason there will be well over 100 people in that room. And so, certainly that's something that I think was something they wanted to work through. And the reason you have 3 from each team, of course, is because what happens if someone's internet goes down, right? You want each team to have multiple backups. So that's part of it. And then all of that, by the way, is going to be backed up by a conference call that these guys are going to be on. And, each team is going to be able to designate one decision maker, and that person is going to have an IT guy on hand. And so they built fail-safes into it. But, I mean, I certainly think that the bandwidth issue, I don't know enough about computers, but I do know this, the more people that are in a room, the more it would slow it down, I would think, the more issues you might have. So that was sort of the idea of having the mock draft, was to put everybody in that room and see how it worked out.
All right, last couple quick hitters for you, Albert. I appreciate the time. How many quarterbacks go first round Thursday night? I give you the over under of 4.5. You take the over or the under?
Oh, I'll take the under on that.
You will.
I thought you were going to say 3.5. That's where I would set it. I would say the 3 guys we all expect to go will go, even if Tua slips a little bit. And then Jordan Love, I think, is 50-50. So I would say right now I would take the under on 4.5.
But you'd take the what on 3.5? What'd you do there?
I mean, over just because I think I'll take the over just because I think. If Love is available when you get down to, and I can't find teams that really are over the moon for him. But of course, if you were, you keep that quiet. I just if they were, I would think if you really loved him that much and you were at the top of the second round, you might want to trade into the bottom of the first round so you can get the 5th-year option on him. And so I would say over, but I think Jordan Love's a real close one. It sort of reminds me of Deshaun Kaiser a little bit a few years ago, where everyone assumed that he was going in the first round, but nobody really was head over heels for him. And so he's sliding into the middle of the second round. That's sort of what this feels like to me.
Well, it sounds like for you, what you're saying, and then I will say goodbye to you and send you off into your good day, that Tua might be close enough within hailing distance of the Patriots, and Jordan Love might be available when they're on the clock Thursday night. Is that possible from what you're saying?
Yeah, I think that's definitely possible. And wouldn't this just be what would happen, Rich, is that Bill Belichick gets Tua Tagovailoa, and then he's healthy for 20 years? Isn't that exactly how it's going to
Well, yeah. I mean, just as Brady leaves.
He's going to slide right into Bill's lap. Bill won't have to trade up for him.
Yeah.
And he's going to stay healthy for 20 years, and Bill's going to be winning Super Bowls into his 80s. That's exactly what's going to happen.
Albert Breer, you called it. You called your shot. Thanks for the call, Albert. Appreciate it. Appreciate it. Best to everyone in your family. Be well, sir.
Thanks. Stay safe, Rich, and good luck on Thursday night.
Right back at you. Right back at you. That's Albert Breer. Okay, couple of things.
Oh, baby.
It sure looks like my hot take of Tua being a top 5 pick is getting
snuffed,
getting more and more blurry. It's like that Marty McFly picture, right?
Yeah.
It's getting blurry. It's disappearing. Is that because doctors can't, again, that when it comes down to it, the general manager, the owner, the coach cannot get their doctor on Zoom or Microsoft meeting, look the doctor in the eye and say, you tell me we're good.
Right.
Well, I've looked at everything that we've gotten, and it looks good. But because I have not personally seen Tua, like we normally would, I can't give you that check. Thus, we go with somebody else.
I mean, if we were playing doctor, looked great at the Super Bowl.
Well, he looked great in his...
And he looked great on the videos.
Right on the videos.
You know, but I don't know.
And if he goes past the Chargers at 6, then Thursday night I have no idea where the hell's what's going to happen. Because then the Panthers might trade out, or the Cardinals at 8, and then there's Jacksonville at 9. How about Albert saying there's already talk in the league that the Jaguars are already preparing to clear the decks for Trevor Lawrence? You knew a team was going to do it. I tweeted it out when Trevor Lawrence ran straight through the Ohio State defense for 70-some-odd yards for a score, that half the league was deciding to tank for 2020 right now. If it's Jacksonville, do you think you take, like, big cardboard cutouts of Trevor Lawrence and put it in the swimming pool and just be open about it?
Yes.
Is that what, like, if you're, because you know at Jacksonville, they're very savvy branders with the Minshew mania. They were
very
all over
good.
that.
Yes.
Do you just take photographs of Trevor Lawrence and put it right in the glass part that shows into the rest of the stadium, right against the swimming pool? Right. Yeah. Trevor Lawrence floats in their own tank. Yeah. Just go out and do it.
You could get a mannequin like Weekend at Bernie style and have fake Trevor Lawrence flip the coin each week.
And how about we'll trade you our first rounder for your current first rounder and a third, and we'll trade you Ngakoue for next year's one. You got to pay him,
right?
But you get a premium young pass rusher who's going to be thrilled to be on your team because he's not on ours.
Clearly doesn't want to be in jail.
And so you amass a second first rounder for next year. Try and win as many games with Minshew as you possibly can. See if he's the guy. And if he's not, and you lose a ton of games, you're in position to trade up for Trevor Lawrence. But Albert's right. If you covet Lawrence, you better have 0 or 1 2020 wins. Because whoever's at the top is not moving out of that spot. Because whoever's at the top will most likely need a quarterback. Because you can't come away with 0 or 1 National Football League wins with a quarterback who is anywhere remotely hovering around serviceable. And then when you got somebody who's got special in them, like the Dolphins, that's how you draft 5th overall. Because Fitzmagic is the worst quarterback to put out there when you want to tank. The worst.
He's the anti-tank.
He's the anti-tank quarterback. Guy who will never stop and throw it in every possible window that he shouldn't, and still has the smarts neck up to win games.
I just want to
know.
know.
And the heart and the gumption.
I just want to know if the Chiefs ever sent him a Super Bowl ring.
Good question. We'll ask Eric. Should we ask Stone Street?
At least a half one.
When Eric Stone Street calls in Thursday, should we ask him?
He would know. He would have the inside info.
He would know if they sent him a ring. That's a good question.
Or one of the replicas, not like the real thing, you know. He deserves it.
So John Lynch is going to be first up. How about that? Now that makes sense that there would be some sort of snafu if, okay, here's how we're starting. Everybody get on your computers and get on your phones and get in your spots that you've never done much from except make a phone call or have your own internal meetings. Now let's hook up the entire league together and let's have the most complicated possible trade. Where do the Cowboys draft? Where's their draft position? I should have this in front of me, I guess. What are they, 22, 20?
I got it.
Where are they? Let's have somebody deep down in the second half of the draft. An 8-8 team in the Dallas Cowboys are where? They're 18, 19? My gosh.
Hold on.
Do you not have the Google working?
Well, no, I hit the wrong button.
Oh, you are truly one of the worst Googlers imaginable.
That's not nice.
It's not nice.
Worst Googler. Good name for a fantasy team.
I'm sure half the 4-5-4s have already figured this thing out.
17.
So let's have a team sitting there at 17 trade up to 1. Has that ever friggin' happened?
No.
Okay, somebody from that deep to go that high is truly one of the most complex draft trades you could come up with. Let's throw everybody into that deep end of the pool. Of course it's going to actually, you know what that is? You know what that is? That's like if you've ever had a stress test. That's like the blue dye. Let's take the blue dye and find out where the problem in your system is. That's what they did. They injected the blue dye into this mock draft process to find out where all the blockages were. So, of course, it's not going to work. And if I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, I really want this to work out, I need to make this work out, it's going to happen, I don't have any choice here, I'm going to sit there and go, okay, let me see how they're going to work this thing out, because I need to make sure that everybody's on their P's and Q's and their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted for Thursday night, when this is when it's going to be most important for it to go down. But if I'm sitting there still stewing and bitching about this draft actually happening, I'm going to text Adam Schefter and say this is brutal. And I say that into this microphone, even though it could be one of the general managers or coaches who I adore and respect in this league. Everybody's just got to get this thing done. Ryan Pace said today he will draft in his dining room, has 7 monitors and a cord running from his router down the stairs to his setup to make sure internet is running smoothly. Noticed a hiccup the other day when his wife vacuumed and accidentally unplugged his monitors. Love that one.
Like, this is the type of stuff we have to worry about.
But everybody is. Do you know what my setup to NFL Network? I have to hardwire this thing.
Oh, yeah.
The router's in the basement. I'm not sitting in the basement. I'm taking I've got a 100-foot coaxial cable.
Are you going outside, or you're
not outside? It's just like I have to tell everybody. I've got to tell everybody, hey, this is running down the front of the stairs. I'm gonna tape it so nobody trips on it. But then it goes down the steps, down the cellar
to the router.
We're all doing it.
Yeah.
And I'm on NFL Network, and this thing could go because the dog knocks it out.
It could go haywire.
Vacuuming.
Dog's like.
And your dogs are crazy, man.
And if you own or rent your home, here's how you can make things easier. This is to Ryan Pace, too. I mean, if Ryan Pace, I assume he owns or rents his home, it's hard work. To make things easier, Geico is there for you to help you bundle your policy. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowners or renters insurance along with your auto policy. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Go to geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com. John Lynch is first up. Cris Collinsworth is after him. Billy Gardell is after Collinsworth. The phone number is 844-204-RICH. That's the number to dial for you to go ahead and contact our show. Cris Collinsworth is at 2 Eastern Time, Billy Gardell at 2:20 Eastern Time, John Lynch at 1:20 Eastern Time, and you throughout. Couple things to promote that's coming up. I've been given virtually the green light to mention every single person that I'm on the air for to start.
You gonna wait Draft-a-thon?
I'm gonna wait till the top of the hour for that.
All right. I love it.
Before John Lynch joins us, there is exclusive Rich Eisen show sound of what went down in the mock draft to confuse people.
Oh, baby.
All right. May or may not be exclusive. You got to tune in to hear that.
It's special, Rich.
It's special, right? You have it all loaded up, correct?
I have it ready to go.
We also do have, for sure, Les Sneed's home draft room. We got photographs of that.
Can't get enough of the draft
How he's going to be either muting or unmuting and figuring that whole thing out. So we got that going for us, which is nice. We didn't even talk about Draymond throwing Kevin Durant under the bus and Michael Jordan. How about that one? Didn't see that one. Didn't have that one in my Last Dance bingo card. Nice. Do have right there in the middle of my bingo card. People still thinking LeBron's the GOAT. You know?
They didn't watch Jordan play.
They did not watch Jordan play.
No, they didn't. It's okay.
Could you imagine if Jordan had somebody like Jerry Krause or a Krause, one would say lackey. I know that's not the right word, but a representative of Krause's management team. Try to explain to him why he had to sit because they figured out what load management could actually do for his game. What would that conversation be like?
It would be very quick.
Okay.
Mike wouldn't allow it.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So LeBron is, and that's the problem, is LeBron is one of the all-time greats. He is on a Mount Rushmore and could be easily. But there's only one greatest of all time when it comes to the National Basketball Association. And I know that there may be some people out there saying that they saw Bill Russell play and Oscar Robertson play and Chamberlain play and blah, blah, and blah. Okay. Just saying.
Dude played all 82 games 9 times, including his final season at 39 years old.
Do you have your poll question ready?
I do.
All right. We're all set here, right?
We are.
And if you call 844-204-RICH, I think you speak to TJ Jefferson today, right?
TJ's in the back.
Rich Eisen Show's social media Grand Maester is manning the phones today. Adam's on the shelf. Apparently he and Tua have hip questions.
I had hip problems.
Do I need to see Adam's MRI?
Medicals, yeah.
Do I need to see his medicals?
We're not drafting him again.
Adam, our call screener, has got this Tua.
We're not drafting him.
Look, he's our guy. He's our guy. He's our guy.
But he's slipping in my book. If I'm one of those 3 on the call.
Apparently he's. Ooh. I don't know. So you get to speak to TJ Jefferson today.
Come correct.
That's how we're rolling here on this edition of the Rich Eisen Show, Sirius XM Channel 211. For those out there listening to us on Dan Patrick Radio, give us a call at 844-204-RICH. For those of the 454s that are watching in our youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show stream, stay tuned because we are on NBCSN. John Lynch, Cris Collinsworth, Billy Gardell, and you. And again, I'm very excited to let you know who's up first in the Draft-a-thon Zoom draft room with me and Deion Sanders coming up on Thursday night. We're back in a moment for hour number 2.
This is The Rich Eisen Show.
All rise. Here comes
The Rich Eisen Show.
It's never enough. At work, I play it all day, every day.
You guys are the bomb.
Live from The Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles. Earlier on the show, MMQB senior writer Albert Breer. Still to come, San Francisco 49ers general manager John Lynch. Sunday night football analyst Cris Collinsworth. Plus, actor and comedian Billy Gardell. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Welcome to this hour of the Rich Eisen Show, live from Los Angeles, California. We say hello to our friends on NBCSN, where you can catch us every single day from 1 to 3 Eastern Time. Coming up on this show in about 20 minutes' time is a man who's got not one but two first-round selections in the NFL draft, which we are not 1 but 2 days away from actually going down. John Lynch, the general manager of the NFC champion San Francisco 49ers, is first up. Cris Collinsworth, who a lot of my friends at NBC know very well, the voice of Sunday Night Football, along with my buddy Al Michaels. He'll be joining us at the top of our final hour. And then Billy Gardell. Look at a handsome photograph of Billy Gardell. He is one of our favorite guests. He is a diehard Steelers fan. And again, he was supposed to be on our show in studio in December and had to tap out, which was very rare for him, because he lost his voice screaming at the Browns-Steelers game that he was at last December. He'll be joining us to tell us what he thinks the Yinzers should do on Thursday night in the draft. Well, they'll be sitting back and watching, I guess, a very rare night for them, watching the Dolphins use one of their first-rounders. But we'll see what he thinks the Steelers need to do in this draft. That's coming up on the next couple of hours. Chris Brockman, good to see you over there, sir.
Hey, buddy, what's happening?
We're good. And my audio executive extraordinaire, Mike Del Tufo.
Good to see you, Rich.
Good to see you as well. So one of the things we'll talk to John Lynch about, interestingly enough, before I have a great big announcement involving the NFL Draft-a-thon that I'm going to be hosting on Thursday night on many digital and social media platforms near you. So one of the things we'll ask of John Lynch, because he was in the mock draft conference call / rehearsal, Microsoft room rehearsal, that Microsoft team room rehearsal that he and the rest of the general managers and coaches of the NFL were on, that went down at the end of this hour yesterday, right? That it didn't take very long for it to leak fast, that things didn't go very smoothly. There's Adam Schefter. I mean, you could see the time. It was right around 20 minutes from now yesterday that he heard from somebody in this mock draft that there was a technical glitch with Cincinnati's first pick. Brutal. So we'll ask John Lynch just how brutal it was. Everybody's doing their reporting on this, right? Everybody's doing their reporting on this. We didn't clear this with NBC Sports News Desk, so in advance, I offer an apology. Rich Eisen Show exclusive.
We got it.
We have the sound of what was so brutal and confused everybody when in the mock draft the Bengals made this announcement for their first pick, right?
Please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem.
That is brutal.
I mean,
totally brutal. I mean, you're thinking you're hearing Joe Burrow and somebody pronounces it Adele Dazeem.
Can you believe that happened? I know that soundbite is what, 5, 6, 7 years old.
It's
I still can't
great.
believe that happened.
In our first hour, Albert Breer was on in our youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show stream from Sports Illustrated. He says the glitch was, and this kind of makes sense, that the NFL running this thing would throw everybody in the deep end of the pool right off the bat. He said the glitches were stemming from the fact that the mock drafters had the Cowboys sitting there at 17th overall pull off a draft trade with the Bengals to start the mock draft. So if you want to talk about having a very difficult draft trade to pull off, 17 up to 1. I don't even know how many chess pieces need to move. in just the normal way in which you would conduct a trade for a draft. Now everybody's in their own homes. So I don't know if they had Jerry Jones basically call up and say, unmute his phone or make this trade. And apparently it created an issue.
Settle down just a little bit.
Right. That might have been part of it right there. So that makes sense. It's kind of like if anybody's ever had a stress test or, an MRI, it's kind of like injecting the blue dye in to find out where all the issues are and all the blockages so you can repair it. Because it made it, that tweet from Schefter, from whoever did that, made it seem like the Bengals had an issue just saying the words Joe Burrow into a phone or on a Zoom room or whatever the hell they're on, right? That's what my thought would be like, how could they not even pull off saying Joe Burrow's first overall when whoever's playing Roger Goodell says, I've just put in a load of laundry, the Bengals are on the clock from my own basement. And that's what it made it sound like. So that's kind of difficult. And we'll figure out how it works out. John Elway earlier today in an interview said things kind of went well after it was all said and done. And we'll see when John Lynch joins us here on the show. And now we have taken prior to coming on the air on NBC, we have taken kind of a bet as to which phone will Lynch call in from.
Because he has the GOAT setup right now.
Yeah.
Well, I mean Tom Telesco of the Chargers has had a very nice setup.
Yeah.
But there's his setup. Del Tufo, you went first in our draft.
Center
went center phone. Brockman, you went left phone.
Left phone.
I'm going phone right.
Okay.
And Don Bowie, who is the one who is keeping this whole operation together, our EP back in his office, he went cell phone. He's going off the board. I think we've got all the phones covered.
We have them all covered.
Is there a speakerphone anywhere?
I'm hoping. I don't know.
Like a old.
So that's our choice with John Lynch later on. And Tua's dropping like a stone from everybody. Albert Breer said again, he hasn't spoken to anybody who thinks, and he says he knows people who know what's going on in the Dolphins building, doesn't think anybody. He hasn't spoken to anyone who thinks the Dolphins will take Tua 5th overall, which means it's the greatest smokescreen ever, like it's the Kaiser Soze of smokescreens. Or
that's a good fantasy name.
By the way, the Kaiser Soze of smokescreens.
Really good fantasy
or he's going to drop. And then Tua could drop in the lap of Tom Telesco, and maybe Telesco thinks he's got to protect whatever quarterback he has from Tyrod Taylor or second rounder or next year, and he passes on Tua, and then Tua drops. Another thing Albert said, and again, you can go to our YouTube stream, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show to see it live at noon every day, and also to check on the video once it's done. He says the Jaguars at 9, the conversation around the league right now is that the Jaguars are the front runners to tank for Trevor Lawrence next year, that they may clear the decks, trade Fournette, trade Yannick Ngakoue on draft night. As you know, he and Tony Khan, the son of owner Shad Khan, went back and forth on Twitter and laid bare the raw emotions between team and franchise tagged pass rusher.
Always a good idea to do that on Twitter, by the way.
By the way, right before the draft. And so there you have it. He's thinking that they can be the ones that are going to clear the decks for Trevor Lawrence over the next 48 hours and certainly on draft night. Trade out of 9 if somebody who wants to trade up to get a pass protector for, say, Tom Brady, or, say, name a team that needs a protector, Drew Lock. Or, say, for Matt Ryan. These guys trade up, and then that team also trades Ngakoue, gets Ngakoue in the draft trade for a 1 next year, and you start amassing for Trevor Lawrence. And if that happens, then the Jaguars should just go straight out and get a big fat head of Trevor Lawrence and put it in their swimming pool, just to let everybody just put the image that they have a tank in their stadium, and they're putting Trevor Lawrence in it right now.
It's next level if they actually do that.
Yeah, I mean, that back and forth, we didn't talk about it yet. We didn't talk about it yesterday. I mean, Ngakoue calls Tony Khan Mo, tells him to stop hiding. I mean, I've been pretty active on social media in isolation, but you wouldn't know that since you unfollowed me again. I mean, it's just not, it isn't pretty.
And then
it ain't pretty.
Ngakoue basically said, just trade me.
I don't know whether that'll happen. I don't know. Oh, my gosh. It just keeps going on and on and on and on.
Yeah, it was a huge thread yesterday.
Oh, my word.
Between these two guys.
Well, doesn't look like Ngakoue's playing for the Jaguars, or this can get Trent Williams ugly. And so many people think that he could get traded on draft night to the Browns, so they don't have to choose an offensive lineman at 10, or they could trade out, or they can get Isaiah Simmons instead. And Washington, second overall on the clock. They're ready to take Chase Young unless somebody wants to pop up and get Tua, which it looks like nobody does because he might drop. 48 hours from the draft. It's just getting really wild out there. And once the draft starts, Cris Collinsworth, who's joining us at the top of our final hour, he's going to be on this channel that you can hear us on Sirius XM channel 211. He and the Pro Football Focus crew are going to be covering the draft that way at 7 Eastern time on Thursday night. And then at 7:30 Eastern time, a half an hour before the ESPN/NFL Network coverage begins on linear television, as they say in the business, I will be sitting with Deion Sanders in a Zoom draft room for the Draft-a-thon live coverage. It's going to be a charity-centric, draft-centric chat room. Our first guest for the first half hour will be Kevin Hart. He's slated to spend a half an hour with us, and I've been told he wants to be part of Wednesday's rehearsal. Again, we're rehearsing. You know, that's what's going to happen. I don't know if we're going to have the Cowboys try and pull off a draft trade with the Bengals so we can make it that much more difficult for us. But at any rate, Deion, me, Kevin Hart to start it off. Then, you ready to hear who's joining me after that? I've been given the green light.
Yes, because you have been teasing this for over an hour now.
I have been given the green light to mention this stuff. All right. So once Kevin Hart joins us and we have a chit-chat, then Robert Kraft, the owner of the New England Patriots, will join us. Then RKK, as he is known, must depart. He is going to get ready for the draft. Michael Strahan will join us. And apparently he's going to stick around. So it'll be me, Deion, Stray, Kevin Hart. Then, I'm assuming from his home and not from a park in Tampa, Florida.
Oh, wow.
Your new Tampa Bay Buccaneer TB12, Tom Brady, is scheduled to zoom in.
Hey, now.
After which, we're not done. And I'm assuming they'll just stick around. From the Pacific Northwest, number 3 in your program, number 1 in your heart, certainly from the 12s, Russell Wilson will zoom in. And that's your first half hour of Draft-a-thon Live.
Wow.
Which you can catch on NFL Twitter, NFL Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, Reddit, Yahoo Sports apparently picking up this stream. That's the first half hour. That's how we're getting out of the gate. And then all first hour of the draft at 8 Eastern time when we come on the air, apparently we clean out the Zoom room so everybody else can go about their business. Deion and I will welcome in from your Super Bowl champion, Travis Kelce will spend the first hour with us. So we'll watch maybe Burrow and Chase Young and all the draft stuff go down with Kelce.
Wow.
That's how we're rolling. And then celebrities galore and Hall of Famers galore, influencers galore. That's the way it's going to go Thursday and then Friday and Saturday. I'm excited about it. It's the way that the draft coverage is going to go from NFL Draft-a-thon Live. Again, on every social media platform the NFL is associated with, we will be live. And again, it's also a virtual fundraiser. There are 6 charities that the NFL has identified that are on the front lines of fighting COVID-19 or providing relief to those that are being ravaged by this scourge. So we're going to blend it all together, monitor the draft, talk about life, and provide you with whatever respite you might need from the real world, as we attempt to do here every day on the Rich Eisen Show. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. What's our poll question that we have over there, Christopher, that we have unpacked that people can go vote on at Rich Eisen Show? What do you have over there?
All right, this has been up at Rich Eisen Show for an hour now, so check it out. Based on The Last Dance, got me thinking, what other teams, players would you like to see a multi-part documentary about?
Okay.
The 90s Cowboys. We know what happened then.
We know a few of those personally.
We can't do all 20 years of the Patriots dynasty, but let's look at the last 5. Basically from we're on to Cincinnati until Tom leaving.
So that includes the Jimmy Garoppolo drama.
That includes all the Garoppolo stuff, 3 Super
great.
Bowls in 5 years.
Yes.
A lot of drama there.
Yes.
The Shaq Kobe Lakers, early 2000s. We know what went on there.
Yes.
And the early 2000s Tiger Woods.
Great question. We could include.
There's a lot of players. We
could include the last few years of the Warriors that Draymond Green let us in on.
Totally.
Talking about the last dance, saying that Durant should have let everybody know that this was his last dance instead of letting everybody answer those questions all year long. And even
might have helped.
Even going after Michael Jordan for not supporting Pippen in his contractual dilemma.
I didn't see that
coming.
Way.
Did not have that in my last dance bingo card. Didn't have that. Lots to talk about at 844-204-RICH, number to dial. When we come back, John Lynch, the general manager of the San Francisco 49ers. Call in from phone right, John. Call in from phone right. That Adele Dazeem moment.
I mean, that was amazing.
In my house, because again, this is John Travolta botching, introducing Idina Menzel singing Let It Go, which was the Oscar-nominated song from Frozen. And that was just like for everybody out there, if you had, say, a 5 or a 6-year-old in your house, that's straight butter, as Stewart would say. So they knew that on the broadcast. They kept her in their back pocket, the producers singing live Let It Go on the Oscars broadcast. They kept that in their back pocket to the very end because they knew kids wanted to.
Oh,
they knew families wanted to stay. But, I mean, East Coast, you're talking like 10:30 at night. You're talking like 11 o'clock at night. In the Pacific, Zan was my oldest, now 11. He was fighting to stay awake because he wanted to see her. And I wish I had video of him trying to comprehend who the hell Adele Dazeem was.
Please welcome the wickedly talented one and only Adele Dazeem.
There you go.
I mean,
wow.
I mean, that was amazing.
What's going on over there? You're awfully quiet, Chris.
No, I'm all right. I'm good.
I don't know. When you do that, that normally means something's up.
No, I'm great.
You just went higher register, which means you're not great.
No, I'm great. I am great.
You sure you're great?
I'm just monitoring.
What are you monitoring?
All the things that are happening.
What are you monitoring?
He needs more screens.
Do you need more screens?
I definitely need more screens.
You need more screens.
I definitely need more screens.
He's the gentleman of the desk
I
over
need
there.
a John Lynch setup right now.
I have the John Lynch setup.
I really need a Lynch setup.
Look at this setup.
Now, a lot of people are curious to what Albert said last hour about him not talking to anyone who has the Dolphins taking Tua at 5.
Okay, you know who must be going through some issues right now? Is TJ Jefferson, our social media grandmaster, who's sitting in for Adam, our call screener, who has a Tua-like hip problem. He didn't break it apparently, but he's at home. So we need TJ to call Lynch now. You know what I mean? Like
right, we'll call
he's
Lynch.
answering phones. Actually, why don't you
call
out there?
We can call Lynch right now.
You call Lynch out there. Don, do me a favor. Play some music, would you please? Here, we'll be back in a second with John Lynch on the Rich Eisen Show. We're back live on NBCSN, Sirius XM Channel 211, and also our YouTube stream, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show. Cris Collinsworth and Billy Gardell coming up in the final hour of our program. Also later on this hour, I do have, straight from the man himself, Les Sneed's home draft setup of the Los Angeles Rams, because we can't get enough.
Nice. No, we love them.
Can't get enough of all the setups that people have taken photographs of or videos of, right, of their home draft rooms. I can't get enough of them.
I mean, Gettleman started this.
Well, the Giants started all. Andy Reid was the
the
pilgrim who landed on this Plymouth Rock.
Andy Reid got to go.
Andy Reid set up, right? So we saw John Lynch's setup, and I mean that setup is impressive.
Look at it.
And again, we took a wager, friendly wager. You say he's calling in right now from phone 2 in the middle.
I said center phone.
And you said left phone, Chris?
Phone left.
Leaving phone right for me. John Lynch, you could make one of the three of us very happy. Which phone are you calling in from right now?
None of the above.
Oh!
I had to make a run to the grocery store, so I'm in a parking lot and about to get masked up and go in there and brave the the elements.
All right, so just give us a few minutes of your time on your cell phone here in a parking lot of whatever grocery store you're in. I mean, what a setup that is, John. John, how many? It looks like it's a 7-screen 3-phone setup. That's what it looks like to me.
Yeah, there's a lot of screens. There's a lot there, and I think I don't know. As a player, I think you learn. You prepare for every situation that might be thrown at you, and so all I did. I mean, we are in Silicon Valley, so we have some extremely talented people in our IT, our video department, and basically what Kyle and I did is said we want to replicate what we do on draft day. We know that's impossible, so where we need to be simple, we'd rather do that than be cluttered and complex. And so we kind of described that, and that's essentially how we're going to do it. We're going to have, we involve a lot of people in our draft process. We like hearing from all our coaches, our scouts, and they'll kind of live in one thing we're calling the huddle. That's going to be one virtual thing going on. There's going to be another room, which is our draft room, our John McVay draft room, which we call it, as if we're in our facility. And there'll be that group of people. And then Kyle and I, whenever the draft is getting crazy and you've got people, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? We always leave and go to my office, which is adjacent to the draft room. And so we've got JL's office. So that's kind of how we're living. That's what all the screens are for. Other screens are for notes, for our internal system. And so a lot of people, I think, what do you need all that for? That's why you need it. And you've got other teams' needs and such. So a lot of information being, and our crew did a great job setting it up. And I just hope it all works come Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
Well, in terms of working, lots of conversation about the run-through, the rehearsal draft that went down on Monday and the issues that were had there. Can you give me any details on how that went from your perspective? What happened?
Well, I think it was a lot of smoke, much ado about nothing. I think the best way I can say it, over the weekend we kind of did an internal mock. And it was the proverbial, I won't say it on air, but you know what show. And
right.
But, John Gruden, when I played for him, he used to have a great saying, sometimes you got to do the things you don't want to do so that you can do the things you want to do. And so you have to kind of go through that to see, as much as you plan out in your mind, until you actually go through the scenario, there's issues, unforeseen issues. And so that's kind of what happened on the very first pick. I think, everybody was hearing them, Cincinnati, who had some technical difficulties. Jerry came on, and I think the whole league heard them. And so there was that. But then right after that, it got very smooth. And, I think that's why we did it. They'll do more of them today with kind of the IT people. But I think everyone understands that you do kind of have to go through the process to understand, okay, here's an issue. And I really do think it will be as smooth as it can be come Thursday.
Okay, and the Jerry you're referring to, I'm assuming you mean Jones, because we heard from Albert Breer in the first hour of our program from Sports Illustrated that there was a mock Cowboys Bengals trade to throw everybody in the deep end of this rehearsal pool. And so Jerry was the one who was on the phone for everybody?
Yeah, I don't want to be sharing in-house information, but yeah, that's pretty cool. There's few people in this league you just call by the first name. It's like Dion, Jerry.
Yeah, right.
And everybody knows who you're talking about. So I screwed that one up. But yeah, he did. And
it's okay.
I always, whether it's at league meetings, wherever it is, I always get such a kick when he speaks up because it's always entertaining.
Right. Well, so look, John, I mean, I knew you were a Stanford guy. You wouldn't be the guy that had a problem with the mute button. I knew that because that's what we're hearing too, that there was the general managers on the phone and that people didn't know when to mute and what have you. But nothing.
Yeah, that is kind of part of the draft. There's talks you have that you certainly don't want to have other people hearing. I think the best thing they did, I think mask and 6-foot distancing and all that. But our IT, I've got our head video guy is going to be about 7 feet away from me during this whole process.
Right.
And if I get in a pinch, he can handle it. There's a lot of fail safes. If with our system, if my house were to crash, number one, I've got a generator. Number two, then it goes to Adam Peters, and Adam Peters has been along with me. Kyle didn't want any part of turning in a pick, so he's out of the loop. But Adam Peters goes, and then Ethan Waugh, our college scouting director. So there's all those fail safes. There's also you can pick up the phone and call it in, and so I think they've kind of insulated this thing with a ton of different ways that if everything goes awry that we can all function, and I do have good confidence that it's going to go not without a hitch, but I think it will go smoothly.
So in terms of that though, just last thing for you, John, on this subject, nothing insurmountable then from what you got from the mock draft or the rehearsal draft for Thursday. It's all stuff that can be fixed.
I do believe that. I really do, and I think it's going to be entertaining. I really do. I know I made on our media call yesterday, everyone is just craving for something live. The other night, it wasn't even live, but it was something new, The Last Dance.
Yep.
And during this time, I don't watch much TV because anytime you're watching TV, you should be watching film or
right.
or making calls and talking with people. But that Last Dance, I had to watch it. Michael Jordan's just been the guy for me, and like so many people. And I think there's a very similar feeling. I can't tell you how many people have reached out and said, we are so looking forward to this. And I think there'll be a fun element to seeing people, in their own environment. I'm out hanging out where in the guest house where my parents come and where they stay when they come, where my father-in-law, and I wanted more space, so I'm out there. And I do think it's going to be fun, and we'll make the best of it. This is serious business. This is how you build your teams. But I think we also are mindful of all the people out there that are really hurting, and hopefully we can take their mind off it, give them something else to focus on, and give them something to laugh about, and boo us if they want from home, and all those things that happens with the draft.
I'm into that, John Lynch. I'm into that. And in terms of the draft, nothing gets more exciting when teams move up, move down. You have not one but 2 first-round selections. Reports everywhere that you would be willing to trade not one or both to move down around. What is your thought process that you can share with us 48 hours before the draft about 13th and 31st overall, John?
Yeah, that's accurate. Last year we hedged a couple things, and one of those, our second round pick was we sent that to the Chiefs for Dee Ford. Our third and fourth round picks, we got a fifth back from Denver, but they, those picks were Emmanuel Sanders. Now, so we have a big gap between those 2 first round picks and where we're going in the 5th round. And would we trade that? No, that helped us get to the Super Bowl and have a real good chance of winning it. But there is a big gap there. So I think you don't pass up a special difference-making player. And if that's there at 13, we'll stand pat. But if not, and we feel like there's a bunch of those guys still left, then, yeah, we're willing to get out of there to accrue some more picks. But I think the same can be said at 31. So it's kind of fluid. I love, the old comment John Madden used to say, all the people at Fox, what happens when a game breaks out? You can do all the pre-production you want, but then a game breaks out, a draft breaks out, and we'll be ready for all scenarios and looking forward to it.
Well, when you talk about game-changing players, I mentioned this to you before in your previous appearance here on this show, and then when we've chatted offline, that Deebo Samuel is the guy that everybody is looking for now. And in fact, Daniel Jeremiah at the Combine came up with the phrase "finding Deebo," that everybody wants to find Deebo. So you would know just how deep this wide receiver pool is in this draft. How deep is it compared to what you've seen before?
It's incredibly deep. It really is. Certainly this will be my fourth draft in this capacity. It's as good as class as I've seen. Now, you probably don't have, but how often do you have a Randy Moss, something like that? But what you do have, Eric DeCosta, I think, said it well, you find starter in the 5th round. I really believe that to be true. You start watching, and a lot of positions, it runs dry really quick. I think we were 24 players in, and you're still really enjoying the quality. And the other thing, I said this at the Combine, it's kind of like pick your flavor too. You want a big guy? There's those guys. You want a short, quick guy? They have that. You want a burner? So there's a little bit of everything depending on what you need or what you tend to like as a franchise. It is very strong class at wide receiver, and that there is a ton of depth there.
Well, I got a couple questions for you, John Lynch, that you can touch. But I know these are touchy potential subjects. Certainly 2 days before a draft. Have you gotten any calls about 31st overall from teams you think looking for a 5th year of control for a quarterback? Have you gotten those calls, John?
Not specifically that. A lot of these guys are your friends, and you talk to them throughout the process.
Right.
But I would say that yesterday is when you start kind of actually making formal calls. Hey, just kind of want to let you know our situation. So nothing has got specific in that specific scenario. No, that hasn't happened. But like I said, oftentimes these things happen on the day of the draft, unless you're talking about the 1st or 2nd pick. They'll happen earlier. So I anticipate that some of that stuff starts to happen here.
Yeah, I know, because again, that's one of those sweet spot of real estate for 2 reasons. One, if you're in 31st or 32nd overall, it means you won a Super Bowl or you went to one, and also. That was right around the spot where Lamar Jackson, he was the last pick in the draft in the 1st round, and Teddy Bridgewater as well. And you clearly have a quarterback of your own, which leads me to my other question here. My colleague Deion Sanders was so open at the Combine about how Tom Brady winding up in San Francisco for Garoppolo would be a perfect spot, and the Niners never said a word. You stayed pat, didn't do anything. And did you and the rest of the 49ers think about making a public statement at any point on this very subject, John?
It's interesting because there were a couple factors in that. Kyle and I had just made a statement at the Combine stating how much we believed in Jimmy. Then these rumors come out. And, the truth of the matter, when you're talking about, and you got to be careful up here because a lot of people up here think the greatest player that ever lived is Joe Montana. So I'm careful always to say when you're talking about one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time with Tom Brady, of course you're going to have some internal discussion. And then you hear rumors that, hey, he'd like to come home, that kind of thing. So, of course, Kyle and I have discussions, but the cool thing, Rich, that we shared with Jimmy is that, we forced ourselves. We're always into getting better. And so you look at everything, especially a situation like that. But within a day or two, Kyle and I looked at each other and said, you know what? We really like what we have in Jimmy. We love everything that he brings, and we really believe it's a long-term answer. And so that's I would tell you we're more convicted than ever about who our quarterback is in Jimmy Garoppolo. Really excited about, despite the challenges of getting better without a traditional offseason, that he can do that. The guy's done nothing but win since he's been here. A lot of people try to pick his game apart for whatever reason. All I know is the guy wins football games, and he's a tremendous teammate, very talented young man, and I think his best football's still ahead of him. So we're as committed to Jimmy as ever. And we've had those discussions with him. That's what was important. We didn't believe, if you start chasing every rumor out there and making a statement on it, then, you're doing that all the time. And yes, this was a bigger one. The important thing was we had talked to Jimmy and told him exactly what I told you.
Yeah, and we had Emmanuel Sanders on when he was after he'd signed with the Saints, and I asked him about the final pass of the Super Bowl that was intended for him, and he had every opportunity to essentially, and he's a veteran, so veterans know how to say something without saying it. He could not have been more full-throated in who Jimmy G is as a leader and who he is as a future, stud quarterback, and that he's already proven it. I mean, he couldn't have been more effusive about Garoppolo, and he's not even on your team anymore, John.
Well, anybody who's been around him, that's just you get a lot of comments, and I often think of the best teammates I've ever played with. Not the best players, but the best teammates. And, Derek Brooks is one that comes to mind. Champ Bailey, they tend to be the better players.
Right, yeah. You named some two good players there,
Brad
John.
Johnson would fit the bill there. Rondé Barber. But that's something that players, when I'm talking to them all the time, I don't know if I've ever had a better teammate. And you just talked about Emmanuel not throwing him. I mean, the one thing Kyle will always tell you, John, as a quarterback, you have such opportunity all the time, 10 times a game to throw someone. He was supposed to be at 11 yards. He wasn't. Jimmy never once since he's been here has done that. Every time he puts it on himself. And that's what gives us a lot of confidence. And we've challenged him. We think there's places, and that's coming from Kyle, places in his game where he can improve. And the great thing is Jimmy embraces those, and we're going to try to get that best out of him. And we think he's already been tremendous. So, I would leave it with that. We're as convicted as ever about him being our quarterback and leading this organization into the future.
John, I appreciate the time. Are you sitting in a parking lot getting set to go get your groceries for your family? I really appreciate it. Before I let you go, one last thing about that shot of your office. I could not help but notice what appears to be an original Leroy Neiman of the catch on your wall. Is that an original Leroy Neiman of the catch on your wall?
Yeah, that's a great call. We have an executive assistant.
Yeah.
To Prague Marate, and she came up one day and she said, my parents were friends with Leroy Neiman. There's about, I don't want to, I forget what the number is. There's very few of them.
Right.
Leroy Neiman did it, and she gave me one. And full disclosure, that hasn't been hanging in my guest house, but when it came to draft, I didn't want to do a bunch, but my daughter came in and said, Dad, you need something with the Niners.
Yeah.
And so I put up the catch. Dwight was one of my favorite people. That play, obviously, such a historic play in this organization. So I thought it was fitting to have it there, and it's been cool to look over at that. That's the kind of player we're looking for. Both Montana and Dwight Clark.
And Leroy Neiman. I mean, like if you're looking, I mean that is I mean that with all the technology you have in your spot right now, that could be the most valuable of them all on that wall, John. That's impressive.
The coolest thing.
How about me? How about me having an eye for art? How about that?
I know, that's pretty good. That is really good.
John, thanks for the time, man. Best to you and your family. You're one of my favorites. I really appreciate the call.
Well, right back at you. Stay safe with your family. And,
you too, John.
I mean that to everybody out there. Thanks a lot, Rich.
Thanks again, and good luck with the draft. Thanks for doing it. That's John Lynch.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's John Lynch right here on the Rich Eisen Show. Hey, man, this is a deep draft. You got 2 1s and a bunch of 5s and 6s. You need to I bet they're going to trade one of them.
I think so.
That 31st is like if Jordan Love's sitting there and somebody wants him, go get him. Go get him. That is a for sale sign on 31st overall.
When you go
13th overall, dude.
Yes.
Dude, though, I mean, if you have Ruggs sitting out there, maybe Ruggs, Judy, or CeeDee Lamb, that when you remember how he said that there could be I know you use the word starter or star. I know he said that there's starter in the 5th, but you can get one of those receivers for Jimmy G with Deebo. Take the top off.
2 of the first 31, and then you don't pick again until 156.
That won't happen.
Those things are getting traded. They are going to accumulate second and third rounders.
That 31st overall is going to go. That's a spot for somebody who wants to trade in, and the thing that makes it so valuable, you get a 5th year of contractual control as opposed to 2 picks later. That's what makes the 31st and 32nd overall picks so valuable.
And if Tua slides, 13's a spot.
13's a spot. Yeah, you want to trade? I was about to say you're saying 31st.
No, 13.
13.
13 for Tua.
Who wants him?
That's the spot.
Well, here's a little tease. Madden, the cover athlete for Madden, has been announced, and the reveal of Les Sneed's draft war room at home. Words I never thought I'd say as a tease, but everything's content these days. We come back. Oh, I got Thomas Dimitroff's. He just texted me.
Oh, nice.
Oh, yeah.
Good job.
Oh, look who he's put on the screen. Oh, man. This is neat.
Is Matt?
Oh, this is great.
All right, I'm trying to find how much that Leroy Neiman painting is worth.
Dude, a lot.
Yeah.
I'm trying to find out.
Don, I'm sending this to you. Oh, my word. I got you. Yeah, I got you.
Like, I think Sylvester Stallone has the one from Rocky, I think.
Thomas Dimitroff knows how. He just knows his audience.
$5,000.
Thomas Dimitroff knows his audience. It's that simple.
Oh, he knows who he's talking to. He's been doing this a long time with us.
He even sent copy to go along with the photographs. Don, here it comes. Oh, baby. Oh, man. Hang on a minute.
I think I
Look it up. To handle this so I can handle this for a second.
I think I got a price. Okay.
I got one too.
$173,000.
That sounds like in the ballpark.
$173,000.
That would be, yeah. That would sound.
That's got to be for the first, right?
That is for his Las Vegas 1961. Some prices for other originals.
Did you put in the catch? Just put in the catch. Leroy Neiman.
I did. It's not as easy as you think.
Okay.
Muhammad Ali, $155,000 for an original.
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle, $131,000. Hank Aaron, $72,000. Tyson versus Spinks, $51,000.
Sent it, Don.
Yeah, that sounds more like it.
Thomas is full of it, though. He just put one up. There's like a jar of M&Ms. Like he eats that.
Yeah. That dude doesn't put anything that's not good for him in his body.
He's looking at an M&M, not eating it.
Yep. He sent 3, but I gave you 2 because I think 2 of them are the same. Hold on, this one might be better, Don, of the other one. I'll send you all 3.
Will we be impressed, Rich?
Yeah. What do you think?
Okay.
This guy's like one of the most finely appointed individuals in the NFL.
We give us a little.
I sent it to the group. I can't get enough of these.
No, neither can I. I think everyone should have to do it.
Seriously,
we should see it.
It makes Gettleman's look like
a Twitter handle,
like a lean-to.
Draft rooms at Draft Rooms.
All right, we're back in a second. Eight 844-204-RICH, number to dial. Let's take some phone calls. Certainly the first one, it's like I'm back home. My hometown of Staten Island, New York. Vito in Staten Island is calling in. What's up, Vito?
Wow. How are you, Mr. Eisen? How are you?
Did we go to high school together, Vito? Did we go to high school? Did you go to Susan Wagner High, Vito?
I went my first 3 years New Utrecht in Brooklyn.
Okay.
My father then not sold. We lived with my grandmother.
Okay.
And then we moved.
You moved to Staten Island.
Richmond my last year.
That's where my dad, my dad, may he rest in peace, was a assistant principal and college advisor and French teacher for over 20 years.
Was it Mr. Weber?
No, it's Mr. Eisen, Vito.
Okay. I'm getting an age.
What's on your mind, Vito? What do you got?
Well, I'm curious. I'm a tweener. Love football, all the teams.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that who's going to trade down more likely, the Giants or the Jets?
Oh, man, it's going to be the Giants, even though Gettleman never does it. Apparently, he never has. The Jets have got to sit there at 11 and get the best player available and don't mess around. Don't mess around. I mean, at 11, they could get a game-changing wide receiver, or maybe if they don't get a game-changing wide receiver at 11 and trade out because all the linemen that they wanted are gone, that would just, I couldn't even imagine that. Like, they got to get someone to protect Sam Darnold or get somebody game-changing for Darnold to throw to that he can be hooked up with hip to hip for a decade, knock on wood. That's what they need to do. And the Giants, thanks for the call, Vito. Appreciate it. By the way, Vito's Pizza here in Los Angeles, California is as good as it gets.
Top notch.
And Vito has got some Staten Island roots in him. Not the Vito we just called. But, the Giants got to get someone to protect Daniel Jones. That's it. I know that maybe Isaiah Simmons sitting there at 4. I think they got to get someone to protect Daniel Jones. And if they could move down one spot and let Miami come up and take somebody, then all the better. And get a little, wet their beak a little bit. That's what I think about the New York sports teams. Although, excuse me, sorry, Buffalo Bills fans. The New Jersey sports teams, pardon me. The only team that resides in New York State in the National Football League resides in Western New York. By the way, I betrayed at the very outset of working for NFL Network, betrayed my New York City. I didn't betray. I showed my New York City roots by calling it upstate New York.
Yeah.
No.
Western.
No. Yeah. I heard from Bills fans real fast.
Upstate is Albany.
Oh, yeah. Upstate is like, it's practically Vermont. Forget about it. You know what I mean?
Upstate is like Finger Lake.
No, I'm kidding. Albany.
Let's check on the poll question at Rich Eisen Show is our Twitter handle. Let's check on that before we touch on a couple of news items. What do you have over there, Chris?
Okay, following up on The Last Dance, who would you like to see a multiple-part documentary series about? 90s Cowboys, the last 5 years of the Patriots, the Shaq Kobe Lakers, 2000s Tiger Woods. You guys want to weigh in here?
I'm going to say the Patriots will be number 1 because nobody thinks that there'd ever be access on that.
Okay.
I will then go Tiger number 2 because they think that there's going to be something salacious. Then I will go Shaq Kobe in the 4th item. Which one is it again?
Cowboys.
Cowboys 90s.
I want to see the Cowboys.
Cowboys 90s.
Okay, you guys are both wrong. Tiger Woods leads the way.
Yeah. Tiger, that would be great.
35%. Shaq Kobe Lakers, 27%.
All right.
90s Cowboys, 20%. Pats at the bottom, 18%.
And you're beginning to see the Last Dance ripple. The first 2 episodes in that pond dropped the stone, and now you're seeing the ripple effects of the conversation that it sparks. 2 items. Draymond Green was on a show, somewhat like a Zoom show or something like that, and said that the conversation about the Last Dance, that in Durant's final year, he should have told everybody in the room, I'm not coming back. Do you think he should have told everyone his business? I don't think he should have told a single soul his business. Yeah. I know that they're all playing together and they're all trying to win together, but why should he tell anybody in that room his business, that I have no intention of coming back? How would that have helped anything? You remember Draymond?
Might have made it worse.
Remember Draymond got suspended a game because he went at Durant?
Yeah, I mean, that was a big issue.
It was here I think it was here in Los Angeles against the Clippers in late November of 2018.
Yeah. Big issue.
Right. And so Durant should say at that moment, yeah, you're right. I'm not coming back. So I know that we have issues. Let me just remove the issue. I'm leaving. And I trust everybody in this room to not say a word to anybody.
Fat chance.
Really?
Yeah. That ain't happening.
But that pales in comparison, Draymond saying that Jordan should have backed Pippen's play on the contract front. That Jordan answering questions about Pippen's contract was constantly, go ask him. Jordan, by the way, had his own contract issues getting paid by Jerry Reinsdorf, who seems to be so far skating on everything because Jerry Krause is the one doing the work for Reinsdorf. And Tim Floyd, who was Krause's handpicked successor to Phil Jackson, told a radio station in a local radio interview yesterday that Reinsdorf spoke to him the year before The Last Dance. The Last Dance was the 97-98 season. After the 95-96 season is when Jerry Krause was already starting to talk to Tim Floyd about, let's do this now. Like, let's do this now. Let's break the team up now because I think Pippen has gone his last legs, and we could split this thing up for spare parts to actually rebuild now with you, because he didn't want to work with Phil Jackson anymore. And Tim Floyd says that Reinsdorf flew out to Seattle, and they walked around downtown Seattle together like they were in, what, You've Got Mail, right? and
Sleepless in Seattle.
Oh, sorry, my bad. The whole Meg Ryan, Tom Hanks thing is it's amorphous.
Well, New York City was You've Got Mail.
Pardon. Like they're sleepless, right? Boy, I botched that. The word Seattle's in the title.
I know. I mean, it's okay.
I just saw you and I thought You've Got Mail. That's one of your favorite movies.
It is.
So they're strolling around in Seattle together, according to Tim Floyd. And Floyd's telling Reinsdorf, why are you doing this? I'd let this team, as he said, die a natural death, meaning let it play all the way out until everybody's done. Like, why are you trying to stop it now? Which, by the way, in 2020, I'm still thinking the same thing. And Tim Floyd had the forethought. And Reinsdorf, according to Floyd, said, would you please tell this to Jerry Krause for me? He's your employee, right? Jerry Reinsdorf hired Jerry Krause, correct?
Yes.
Jerry Krause did not run the Bulls, correct?
No.
Why couldn't Reinsdorf tell Jerry Krause, figure it out with Phil, Jerry, and figure it out with Michael, Jerry.
And Scotty.
And figure it out with Scotty, Jerry.
I mean,
and figure out how to pay all of them, because I know I'm telling you we're not renegotiating, which probably put Krause in a tough bind too. How is Reinsdorf not the one that's getting all this on him? He's the one who got Phil to come back for you.
Could you imagine?
So Draymond is telling Michael should have thrown it out there. How do we know that Michael didn't do this with Reinsdorf behind the scenes? Certainly he's not going to Jerry Krause to talk to him.
Right.
He's not giving him the time of day.
Could you imagine Tim Floyd?
And doing it in the media, like, what's Jordan? Jordan wants to get paid himself.
He did the last 2 years.
Correct, finally.
Jordan only made $4 million in 95, 96.
So he should have gone in the media and said, I'm not coming back unless Pippen gets paid. That's Draymond's point.
Imagine Tim Floyd taking over the 96-97 team that won 72 games.
The whole thing is just why? Why? I guess the Beatles split up.
I mean,
right? I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Everything comes to an end.
Dude, again.
Who's Yoko Ono in this?
Again, I guess Draymond is putting himself from this era into that era.
It is.
Like, hey, we should be standing up for did he stand up for Clay's contract? Steph's contract? Maybe now that he's gotten paid. And how about this? You want to take this era and put it in the other era. Could you imagine if there was a member of Jerry Krause's staff who comes up with the data to show Michael that it would help him to sit out a few games because his management team was saying his load needed to be managed?
Take that for data.
Could you imagine what the response by Jordan to somebody, hey, Jerry Krause sent me. Just that would be the end of the conversation. Jerry Krause sent me to show, look, if you sit out these 6 games, you could be more effective in June because of look at all the wear and tear you've had over the last several years of winning all these championships. You playing less will help us win more. Could you imagine what Jordan's response to that would have been?
0.0.
Bingo. And so I ask everybody in the NBA right now, how come you're not responding to that data by saying, I'm playing every game?
Right.
What are you talking about? Load management.
Mike had a broken ankle. Secretly went to North Carolina
and worked
out and played pickup games without the Bulls knowing.
Exactly.
Come on. And speaking of, congratulations, and look both ways. Congrats to the new Madden cover athlete, Lamar Jackson, who announced he's going to be on the cover of Madden 21. You know what? That's great news and everything, and Lamar is having a great run. What's the name of this show? Mike Del Tufo, can you remind everybody what the name of this show is?
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Do you know who's going to be inside Madden 21?
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
Hello.
What are you
doing?
What are you going to be doing?
I can't disclose that just yet.
Didn't get the green light yet?
I don't know. I don't know if I was able to do what I just did right now either.
Come on.
I mean, dude.
And by the way, you can't say a word about self-promotion because you think I didn't notice what you've hung on the front of your desk right now.
Rich, by the way,
look at that. Your Twitter and Instagram handle.
By the way, I'm getting ready to.
By the way, beautiful.
Rich.
Font. It's perfectly cut like you have.
I haven't hung mine yet.
Who made these?
Rich.
Mine's going.
I mean, I had a few minutes this morning.
Dude,
I did a little.
So all of a sudden, we're on NBCSN, and you guys are like, "Hey, follow me, follow me."
If not me, who? If not now, when?
Who taught you that?
I'm a good friend of mine.
This is the Rich Eisen Show.
I might have said that a few times.
That dates back to 2012.
All right, while we're promoting, Podcast One is how you can check us out every single day to listen to us whenever you want. Listen on demand. You can catch all 3 hours of this show anytime on Podcast One. Please listen and subscribe. Go to podcastone.com/Rich Eisen to listen to us whenever you want. You can watch us whenever you want. YouTube.com/Rich Eisen Show. You can watch us on NBCSN from 1 to 3 Eastern Time. And my friend from NBC Sports, Cris Collinsworth, will join us in our final hour coming up. You see stuff that's on the walls here when you walk in. There's a Goodfellas poster that I've had forever.
Really?
Yes.
Where'd you get it?
I got it at a charity auction.
Huh.
You've taken it off the wall.
Yeah, it's not my signature.
What do you mean it's not your signature?
This is not my signature, buddy.
Down there?
You got ripped off.
No, I did not. You're kidding me.
I don't do a frou-frou L like that. And I don't cross it.
So that is not yours, because it's signed by you, De Niro, and Pesci, and I spent at least 4 figures on this thing.
Get out of here.
Yes.
You're a sucker. I mean, I could sign it for real.
Yeah.
At least I could double it.
Please, do what you wish. If that is, do you know if that's Pesci's? Do you know if that's Joe's?
No, that's him.
No, I know that's him.
I know.
You sure?
We'll take care of it later, Rafi.
Yeah. What do you got? He's got an axe. Are you serious?
Do you want the real?
Yeah, sure. But you know, I mean,
it's gonna hurt the.
Okay. You're.
Oh no, it doesn't. Oh, that's me.
You just smacked yourself in
a heart attack. We'll do it later.
Okay.
That's not me.
Yeah, you just banged yourself. You just cracked the glass, so we could take it out. Smash the glass. I mean, you got that at this point.
No, it's not glass. It's not really glass.
It's like a plexi.
But we'll do it. We'll fix it.
Okay.
But you got ripped off.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
How are you feeling now, Rich?
He's holding onto the axe.
All right, so ask me a question.
Oh my gosh. You put the axe down. This is fantastic. I'm sort of, I don't even know where to go with this because that has been one of my most prized possessions for some time. And you are the real McCoy saying that it's not your signature.
Yeah, no, it's not. I initialed it to make it.
Yes. Right for Gazy, and then we're done.
This is The Rich Eisen Show.
All rise. Here comes
The Rich Eisen Show.
It's never enough.
At work, I play it all day, every day.
You guys are the bomb.
Live from The Rich Eisen Show studio in Los Angeles. Earlier on the show, MMQB senior writer Albert Breer. San Francisco 49ers general manager John Lynch. Coming up, Sunday night football analyst Cris Collinsworth. Plus, actor and comedian Billy Gardell. And now, it's Rich Eisen.
Final hour of the Rich Eisen Show here on this Tuesday before the NFL Draft. Great chat with John Lynch last hour. Chris Brockman, who's sitting at his post, did he say at one point that he and Kyle did kick around the idea of Brady before basically saying this is not what we're going to do, and they talked to Garoppolo about it? Did he say that?
Yeah, more or less.
And that they didn't feel a need to address it. They loved him. They still love him. They loved him at the Combine.
And they love his nice price tag.
And he is, by the way, affordable now.
He is.
Compared to who's making the $30 million north and stuff. But so John Lynch called in, not from his beautiful draft room, but as he said, in the parking lot of a supermarket that he was about to go mask and glove up and go and buy groceries for his family in advance of this draft that goes down again on Thursday night. Billy Gardell, the star of Bob Hearts Abishola, the diehard Steeler fan, is going to be joining us shortly on the Rich Eisen Show. But we turn to the phone lines right now, and he's one of my favorites. It was, again, a career highlight for me to sit with him and the now Emmy-nominated Bill Belichick on the set of the NFL 100 All-Time Team Show, one of the voices of football night in America and Sunday night football. And he and the rest of the Pro Football Focus team will be all over this draft right here on this Sirius XM channel 211 starting at 7 Eastern time on Thursday night. He is Cris Collinsworth. How are you, Chris?
I'm good, Rich. I think we set up Belichick so well. He got the Emmy nomination, don't you? Is that kind of how you look at it?
Well, you know what, Chris? There is an I in Chris and Collinsworth and Rich and Eisen, and I think again,
no question.
You know what I'm saying?
No question about it.
We helped him out. It's all we did our job, right? He says, "Do your job." We did our job. So
we had a very small job. I tell you, it was looking back on it now, though.
Mm-hmm.
How interesting was the dialogue and the back and forth between Brady and Belichick?
Oh yes,
I mean it was compelling. You know, I mean there was clearly this issue floating about the room, and I mean you'll remember I could barely stand it. I mean I was like, okay, this is not going at all right. I was like, okay. Do you ever wake up in the middle of the night, Tom, and go, I'm Tom effing Brady here, man. I've won you a lot of Super Bowls. You should be doing, you know, and it was like this, like they both looked at me like, you dog, you know. But I can just remember the feeling of this is maybe the first time that they've actually been in the room where conceivably this conversation could be happening.
Yes, and that they were both being honored with one of the greatest honors that the game could ever bestow on somebody. And I know that the Pro Football Hall of Fame is that, but so many Pro Football Hall of Famers would come into the room after that conversation, Chris, and look at the board and think that they had already had their fill of humbling honors in their life, and this was one of them. And I got the same feeling about Brady and Belichick too, Chris, but it was also, even though it was one of the last episodes the last episode that we aired, the quarterback one, it was the first segment that we recorded of all of them. And I just thought maybe we just all weren't in a flow yet. But looking back, I think that the two of those guys probably had never been on camera before together for an honor that each one of them had a huge role in playing for the other. And I don't know if they knew how to talk about it, quite frankly. You know?
Well, you know, and the reason that both of them are who they are is that they don't take a lot of time to sit and reflect. I mean, if you're sitting and reflecting when Tom Brady leaves, Bill Belichick is retiring. If you're sitting and reflecting when your contract is up with New England, you're certainly not going to another team, right? You're going, all right, I played till I was 40-something years old. That was enough. I feel good about myself, and I'm going to go retire to this incredible life that Giselle and I and the kids are going to have. And yet there's something wound tightly within those two guys that you say that's not true about. It's not true about either one of them. And I think it's almost inconceivable now that both of them are going to feel some competitive pull to outperform the other as now that they're on separate teams. Now, if you asked either one of them that question, I think they'd both say you're out of your mind. But, they're both going for the same ring, right? I mean, they're both going for the same trophy, and if one of them should get it, that's going to adjust that conversation too.
No doubt about it, Chris. And I guess just to put a fine point on this, using the documentary that we just saw the first two parts of on Sunday night in The Last Dance, and how difficult it is to keep anything together, certainly when it is so very successful. And that Bulls team, just for whatever reason, as we're learning, just could not be kept together. Brady and Belichick, for all what we were talking about what might have been in the room at the time last May, they still did do it for 20 years together. 20 years. That will never be matched in sports, let alone the NFL.
And when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, obviously we have a sixth-round draft choice, right, on one side. But on the other side, you have a guy that had been fired by the Cleveland Browns. So, I mean, the whole thing, the unlikely nature of all of that perfect storm coming together to do what they remarkably did is a little mind-boggling, and I'm not sure we'll ever see anything like it again, because I just don't think that remote an odd of a sixth-round draft pick and a guy who had been fired from another I just can't see it ever happening again.
Cris Collinsworth, Sunday Night Football and Pro Football Focus here on the Rich Eisen Show. Let's get to the draft. You and the guys at PFF have who is the highest-rated player going into this draft in 2 nights?
Oh, I think Joe Burrow is clearly the number one guy, and we're I think for the Cincinnati Bengals, you go back in their history and you look at they went to 2 Super Bowls. I was lucky to be a part of both. Kenny Anderson, Boomer Esiason, both won the MVP in the year in which we went to the Super Bowl. Carson Palmer, gave them good runs and gave them opportunities. And who knows if he beats the Pittsburgh Steelers in the game that he gets hurt throwing a 60-yard bomb and hurts his knee on the play, and the receiver hurt his knee on the play as well. Who knows? Because I think that was 2006. I think that was the year that the Steelers went on to the Super Bowl. And a guy that nobody will ever remember, Greg Cook, was supposed to be the best quarterback of all of them and hurt his shoulder after a year or two or whatever the case may be. So I think Mike Brown is certainly looking at this and going, you know what, you either have one of those guys and you have a chance, or you don't and you don't. And I've known him and been around him long enough to know that unless somebody drops a king's ransom at his front doorstep, he is going with Joe Burrow and taking a shot.
And let's just stick on the quarterback front. I mean, Tua, the evaluation of him for the last 2 years has just been stellar. We all know about the hip injury and the fact that no, I guess, team doctor has been able to, right before the draft, take a look at him and then look at their coach and or general manager in the eyes, and the doctor say, thumbs up. We don't have that. So now it's an evaluation of Tua minus the locked-in medical for your own team versus Justin Herbert. What about that evaluation in your mind, Chris?
A year ago at this time, it was tanking for Tua, right?
Yep.
And they have 3 picks in the first round, and I think Miami might have 2 in the second round as well. So they have more draft capital than anybody in this draft. The people at PFF will tell you, all of my mathematicians that work on this stuff, that the equation's pretty simple. That the quarterback moves the needle more than anybody else. It's not even close. The wins above replacement, the WAR stuff, and all the different things, it's not even close. So let's say that you draft Tua. You consider Tua to be the best one, and it's a complete bust. Doesn't work out. You still have the 18th pick, the 26th pick, 2 picks in the second round, more draft capital than anybody, and 2 tremendous quarterbacks coming, one out of Clemson, one out of Ohio State the following year, that maybe you get a chance to go for one of those. I did my mock draft, and I tried every scenario to take Tua out of number 5 at Miami, and I could not make it make sense. Okay, so let's say, because I've got Isaiah Simmons going to the Giants. I don't know what anybody else does. But Andrew Thomas is my best offensive tackle. Jedrick Wills, Justin Herbert, right down the left of the guys, Derek Brown, of the guys that are going to come next, is the potential now of what Tua could mean to that franchise. Is it worth the shot that he comes back to being the guy that we all thought just 10 months ago that he was that kind of guy? To me, it's still worth that shot. Now, I think that somebody else can look at Justin Herbert and go, that's the real freak in this draft. That's the 6'6" guy who can run 4.7, 4.8, that has this cannon of an arm that can get it anywhere you want to throw it. That's the poster child for the Miami Dolphins or Los Angeles Chargers going forward, and I can see that. Unfortunately, the PFF numbers and what he did on the football field don't measure up to that. They don't measure up to somebody going 3, 4, 5, even 6, 7, whatever. I put him at number 7 to the Carolina Panthers. And I didn't do any trades. I didn't do any of that stuff. I think the LA Chargers are convinced. Anthony Lynn is convinced that with Tyrod Taylor that he's got a player that can win. Lamar Jackson won the MVP a season ago with a similar style of play. And the one thing that the Chargers have always fallen on the sword not doing is fixing this offensive line. And I just look at them as a left tackle away from being able to compete. They've got the receivers and Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams. You got to write down the list. This is, they got the pass rushers with Bosa and Ingram. This is a team. They've got a secondary that can absolutely play with the Kansas City Chiefs with all the guys they've got there now. So if you look at that, I'm putting them at guard. With an offensive lineman, the Chargers at 6, and I'm putting Justin Herbert at 7. You've got a whole new look going on there. Cam Newton is gone. Matt Rule comes in. They love the downfield throws. There's nothing Herbert can't do. So that's the way I put him.
Interesting. Cris Collinsworth here on the Rich Eisen Show, and you can hear him and the rest of the PFF crew Thursday night, 7 Eastern, right here on Sirius Channel 211, and you can listen at home with Amazon, Alexa, Google Assistant, or however you stream in your house. That'll be on Thursday night for draft night. For the moment, a few more minutes left with you, Chris. So why do you like Isaiah Simmons for the Giants at 4? Don't you think they got to go O-line to protect Daniel Jones, certainly since Gettleman's pushed all his chips to the center of that table, to use a Giants phrase from back in the day? What do you think there?
Yeah, I battled that one. Here's my problem with that one. I look at these 5 offensive linemen as, maybe we just do the top 4, but I look at them as almost being interchangeable. Like, I really, if you gave me the choice of Andrew Thomas, Jedrick Wills,
Wirfs, Tristan Wirfs,
Micah, Tristan Wirfs,
Becton,
Mekhi Becton. That's the name of him, Mekhi.
Yep.
Becton. I'd be like, okay, I don't really care, and I probably would have Becton down a little lower, but between the other 3, between Thomas, Wills, and Wirfs, it doesn't make that big a difference for me. But I think that in Isaiah Simmons, you get another one of those freakish athletes, and if he loves Saquon Barkley, our guys will tell you never draft a running back.
Right.
That it's the most replaceable position in football. But obviously Saquon Barkley is a great player, and that's where he's going to go. But if he went there, then and you've got interchangeable tackles in behind. Do you try and trade down? I would. If I were the New York Giants, because I think I could get one of those guys down to, 11, 12, 13. But if I had to stay put, I want a freak up there. And to me, the freak in this draft is Isaiah Simmons. And then you'd have a freak on offense, a freak on defense, and go get you a tackle in the second round. And he'd still be better than what they have.
Before I let you go, let's come full circle and talk about, again, our Emmy-nominated friend, Bill Belichick, and what you think the quarterback room is going to look like for New England after this draft. Do you think he's got something big planned? Again, he doesn't have the second rounder because it belongs to Atlanta for that Mohamed Sanu trade that just did not work out and what turned out to be, again, remarkably Brady's final year. What do you think Bill's got cooked up here in regards to his quarterback room, with Stidham and Hoyer being the only ones in it right now?
Can you see Cam Newton going there?
I would love that. I would love it.
I don't know why,
Chris.
I can't. I can't see Jameis Winston going there. I don't know why. I just can't. The guy that I can see going there
Dalton
is Andy Dalton.
I mean, we had Charlie Weiss on a few weeks ago. He pegged Dalton then. He says that Dalton's the guy, is what he said, to keep an eye on him, and he could become expendable in 2 days, technically.
I think that you're going to see some of these guys getting traded. I think there's going to be a lot of veteran players get traded during the draft. And Andy Dalton is the one that, as you look at the New England Patriots today, with what they've got and Josh McDaniels and the players that, I think Andy Dalton would give them a better chance than Jared Stidham. The problem is, and it's going to be the same things true with all these rookie quarterbacks or rookie players in general, is who knows how much time these guys are going to get in camp or OTAs or whatever to learn what they're doing. I mean, you can almost make a case that what difference does it make if you draft a quarterback this year? They're not going to have time to learn what they're doing to be a factor this year, so are you better off gunning for one next year, because we know there's 2 pretty good ones coming out of there, headlined by Trevor Lawrence. So, there are so many complicating factors, as you probably know, getting ready for your draft show now. Mm-hmm. There's so many complicating factors to this football season. And for the New England Patriots, I assume their thought is they're going to go with Jared Stidham or with a veteran guy that they feel like can plug and play into that system. And for me, that player is Andy Dalton.
Chris, thanks for the time. Always appreciate it, and I truly mean what I say. That what we did last May at NFL Films for NFL 100 all-time team series. And I'll mention every single time you come on. I don't care. It really was that special. It really, truly was. So I appreciate the time as always and chatting with you.
You got it, buddy. That's a great memory. You're absolutely right.
Right back at you, Cris Collinsworth, Sunday Night Football on NBC Sports, and again, Pro Football Focus. The PFF guys and ladies are locked in. Remember back on, before we take this break, the old 60 Minutes, it always ended with point, counterpoint. Remember that?
Yes.
There was a point and counterpoint. Point. Cris Collinsworth saying that Andy Dalton's the best fit for the Patriots post-Brady. Counterpoint. Chris Brockman on behalf of all of New England. Chris?
Please, God, no.
Okay, very good.
With all due respect.
Okay, with all
due respect.
You're supposed to say with the all due respect before you say something highly disrespectful. Otherwise, it does not count. You can't go. You can't reverse it. You can't reverse that polarity.
That's my bad.
844-204-RICH. Your phone calls still to come. Billy Gardell, one of the diehard Steelers fans that I know, he will be joining us. The very funny Billy Gardell when we come back. All right, very good, everybody. Didn't I say that the other day, that that Belichick might be sitting here and thinking, I draft a rookie this year, I cannot get this rookie ready this year because I do not have OTAs. I do not know when I will be able to have this kid in. I do not know when I can have this kid right in front of me and teach him and have the lessons of do your job, Patriot way, taught to him by the staff, eye to eye, face to face, in a quarterback room that's not zoomed into. That I do not know when there is going to be mandatory OTAs. I do not know when there's going to be a training camp. Right now, don't want to take a rookie right now. It's like a wasted year of a contract because I cannot I cannot get this kid ready in the same way that I got Stidham ready last year for now.
Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that probably factored a lot into bringing back Hoyer. A veteran who knows the system, has been in there a lot of time. You don't know what the offseason's going to look like. So you have Hoyer kind of coach Stidham up and bring him along, just like last year.
Or Stidham doesn't need the coaching up right now. Who better than Brady? Because I don't think Brady was one of those types of guys like, I'm not talking to you, Rook. It's my team here.
But I would bet that
I don't think Brady was like that at all.
I would bet Stidham knew to pay attention.
Well, I mean, he's Tom friggin' Brady.
Right.
So, and that Stidham knows their system. Let's go. This is why we drafted you, son. Do your job. Instead of going and trading up to go get someone. If Tua drops within hailing distance.
I mean, there's value there.
But you're not trading it. You're not dipping it to next year's draft to do it.
But they don't.
That's what they have to do.
They also, I can't see the Patriots moving up. They don't have a second-round pick.
To trade down and fill in the same way that Lynch was talking about in our last hour.
You just accumulate more picks.
That's the one that makes
sense
to me.
Move, and it's what I expect.
And you trade down to take maybe the rookie quarterback.
If Love or Hurts are there in the second round.
I told you weeks ago, don't sleep on Stidham, and Tom Curran
Tom said it way
of
back.
NBC Sports Boston said that the day Brady left, it's going to be Stidham. The day he left, is what he said.
Yeah.
So one guy who does not care at all about this, with the exception of he hopes whatever move the Patriots make, he hopes it's the wrong move, just called into the show.
That's true.
Right? How much time are we back?
That's definitely
on NBC.
That's definitely true.
How much time are we back? So we got about a minute, 45 seconds.
45.
All right, so not enough time to pop Billy Gardell on.
Billy's all good. I talked to him.
Did you talk to him?
Yep.
Great job.
All right, real quick. Just pop him on real quick. You got him there? Billy, you there? I got about 15 seconds. You there?
How are you, Mr. Eisen?
Before I reintroduce you to the NBC audience, we were just talking about what move the Patriots make. I said that the only move that they make is the one that you hope is the wrong one. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Of course. I hope it's tragic. I hope there's 10 years of draft in their future.
All right, Billy. Thank you for providing that confirmation. Put him back on hold. We're back on NBC in a second. Back to the Rich Eisen Show. Now, when we have people on the show and calling in, we're only calling in now. Like, we look forward to the day to have in-studio guests back again, and we love when this guy is in studio for sure, seeing him face-to-face. But when you have people call in, you want them to call in a landline. But the number of people that say, I don't have one anymore, to me. I do. But I'm, you're over 50. I'm 50.
Old school.
I do not have a landline.
So I texted this man to say, hey, do you want to come on and tell us what the Yinzers should do for draft night, even though they got to smoke them if you got them on first night of draft. Do you have a landline, or you have a cell, or are you one of those millennials without a landline? He provided a landline and called it he said he was a grown-up. From Bob Hearts Abishola on CBS, none other than Billy Gardell, the grown-up, here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Billy?
What's up, you guys? Good morning. Good morning, Rick.
Billy.
How you doing, buddy?
You sound
I'm
great,
doing
Billy.
Good, man. Getting through it a day at a time like everybody else, listening to science and doctors and math and just trying to stay in that lane.
Attaboy. I'm glad that you're...
I can't mess with this. I can't mess with this virus. I'm 50. I'm overweight. I got asthma and type 2 diabetes. It's outside looking for me. I got to be extra careful.
And I'm glad that you're inside on the phone here on that hard line chatting with me. And figuratively, smoke them if you got them Thursday night. The rare situation where the Steelers have coughed up their first-round pick, although it was kind of worth it for Minka Fitzpatrick last year, wouldn't you say, Billy?
That's why I'm completely relaxed about that. The one great thing about last year was we realized now we have a defense that can compete, and Minka was I got a buddy in Miami who's he's a tortured Dolphins fan, but he called me when that trade happened. He goes, "You're going to love this guy." He's like, he's one of the few bright spots on our defense. And what he did, man, and this is better than anybody we could have gotten in the draft. The Steelers have gotten scorched over the last decade in the middle of the field. any quarterback that wants zone defense, that knows how to play against it, would shred us in the middle of the field. Brady shredded us in the middle of the field. And I think Minka has taken that away. He's not only made it unsafe to go in the middle, but he's provided several turnovers. I love his attitude. I could not be happier with that trade. So I'm all for that trade. I think where we got to look, I think they'll try to even toughen that lineup even more than it is, although it's pretty electric, our defensive line again, finally. And, when you got a good pass rush, you can hide a secondary that's trying to grow and mature. Because if you're getting to the quarterback, you ain't got time to go downfield. But if there's no pass rush, you can't hide anything. But I think that defense has come together in a way that is very, very exciting. I think we got to go. I think where they'll look, because they always traditionally do. We always have 57 linebackers. So I would imagine we're going to look for a linebacker or an edge rusher. And then they got to go after a running back. We got to go. We have to. I like Connor a lot, but he had that Pro Bowl season, but then he was banged up every couple weeks. For the way we play football, I'm not sure a fast, explosive runner is the guy we want. I mean, that might be a good change of speed guy. And I'm not taking anything away from Connor. I just think the punishment on his frame and weight for what we do it doesn't match up, and I think it would be a lot better season for him if we just got a big, nasty hog to hand the ball to. That's what I'm rooting for.
Well, Billy Gardell, we had Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk on yesterday, and he threw out, hey, if Leonard Fournette's on the block, maybe that's the fit for the Steelers. I know, but it was so out of character for them to trade up for Devin Bush last year, and then thoroughly out of character to trade out of a first-round pick for Minka Fitzpatrick in the middle of a season, certainly after their quarterback has announced he's done for the season. So
right.
as long as you're out of character doing that, maybe you should be a little bit out of character and go hop on Leonard Fournette. Billy.
I think that's one of those things where progress eventually makes you turn the dial a little bit. I love that they stick to they stick to their number in the draft. They stick to finding players. Like, one of our staples is you find a player in the draft that comes to Pittsburgh, gets the program, and will play so far over their head at Pittsburgh that it's amazing. And then, then they move off to Seattle and you never hear their name again, like Chad Brown. But I do believe that you have to kind of turn the dial a little bit these days, because the market's just too in flux now. And I would love to have Leonard Fournette. I would, yeah. That's what the thing I miss most about Bettis is if you had 5 minutes left in the game, and even if you were up by 2, if you saw him come trotting out, you could just relax. You could go build a plate of nachos because you knew he was just going to grind them into submission. And I would love to have that guy. I would love to have a closer like that again. That would be my ultimate pick. But I don't know where they're going to go for that.
Billy Gardell of CBS's Bob Hearts Abishola here on the Rich Eisen Show, formerly of Mike and Molly back in the day, and that's where we first met you. And I just love your fandom, Billy. For those who might be new to you as a diehard Steeler fan, let me just walk through a couple of things that I've just of our history, okay, of our history.
Well, we met doing that read for Manganiello, and you were just
when we did.
I fell for you on the first date, Rich. I got to tell you.
Right back at you when we did the live read of Major League, which was amazing.
Yeah, you got to do Euchre's part, and I got to do the. I got a guy online too about some white walls, Eddie. I'll call you back.
It was amazing. It was unbelievable that night. So back in the day, just last year, and you're a lead pipe wielding professional, you couldn't make it on the show because your voice was shot, right? You just went all out against the Browns last year when you went to Heinz Field.
I actually, that was the home Browns game after
the crowning.
Rudolph got hit in the head with that helmet, which, look, as a Steelers fan, of course, you think the other guy was out of line, but as a sensible person and a quarterback, probably not the guy you should go start with. And if you do, make sure one of your guys is standing in front of you. But it got nasty and it got ugly, and there was no way, even without Ben, that we could lose that game in Cleveland. And I was scheduled to come do your show the next day, and I went to that home game. I even took my mom for extra mojo because she's out of her mind too. And they let us do the terrible towel twirl, and it was just a day of screaming. And then I know I called you then. I was like, Rich, I'm really sorry, but I can't come on the show because I hate Cleveland. And you said, I understand, Billy. We'll do it again.
Yeah, your voice sounded like Tom Izzo, March Madness Tom Izzo. Like you couldn't. That's what it sounded like.
Yeah, there was nothing left.
No.
And I've done that once before. During Mike and Molly, I went to the Jets Steelers playoff game with when they dinged that, and I'm not trying to bring up bad feelings here, but that field goal. But I came home so screamed out and so sick that it cost us 3 days of rehearsal from Mike and Molly, and then I did it again. I did it again with the Cleveland game because I came home and then just tried to walk into rehearsal. I was like, "Hey, everybody!" And Chuck was like, he walked by and Chuck Lorre put his hand on my shoulder. He goes, "No more football games during the filming season, okay, buddy?" Okay.
They're going to write it in your contract, Billy. You better be careful. Which was the game where you lit a when did you light a candle in a church in New York City? When did you do that one?
I lit a candle in the church for that was the when we lost that absolute heartbreaker to New England when they flicked that ball over the end zone and they said that Heath Miller didn't have it. And
he didn't have the catch.
And we lost that heartbreaker. And I was in New York City because I called you, and I walked to St. Patrick's Cathedral, and I lit a candle for the Jets and said, J-E-T, Jets, 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 Jets. And I said that in hopes that you would beat them because there was some crazy scenario that if the Jets beat the Patriots and 14 other teams won by 2, we would get in. So that's why I was lighting the candle at St. Patrick's that week.
And this has got nothing to do with religion. How'd that work out for you, Billy? How did that candle work out for you?
Nobody answered, Rich, but I guess there's bigger prayers out there. Nobody answered. But, you can't hurt. You don't know. Sometimes God's biggest answers are no's. We end up, I don't know. I don't know.
That said, Billy Gardell, what do you think about Tom Brady, the Buccaneer? What do you think about that one?
See, here's the thing. If they can get that line to not touch him, he's going to torture that division. And Bruce Arians is a great quarterback guy.
Oh, yes.
He's a great quarterback guy, and he's the kind of coach that you kind of want to run through a wall for. So it makes me I'm not ready to make a judgment on that till I see it yet, but I think it could be real interesting games watching Brady and Breeze go at it, or Brady and in that division. The Houston game against him would be good. I don't know. I'm nervous about it. I wish the guy was just retiring. I'm done. So I've had all the Tom Brady that a human being can take. So if we're gonna have to put up with him again, I got to wait and see. I don't know what's going to happen. He may have some of that, magic like Montana had when he went to Kansas City. Those guys are just not. They're not on the regular chart.
They are not on the regular chart. So now that Tom is in Tampa, okay. Yeah. And now that Eli is retired and Phillip is on the Colts and Breeze has been on the Saints for a while, but he hasn't been on the same team since the very beginning. Do you know who the most tenured with his original team quarterback is in the National Football League now? Billy Gardell.
Well, it's probably Ben, right?
It is that. Can we put the photograph, the most recent photograph we've seen of Big Ben up on the screen? Billy, have you seen this photograph?
I don't know what he's doing. He looks like he's been out in the woods looking for truffles. I don't know what he's doing.
Truffles?
I don't know what you're doing. I don't know. You grow the beard, and I don't know if he's building a log cabin or what. Just,
Looks like you went from. It looks like you went from Duck Hodges to Duck Dynasty. Quite frankly. Billy?
Yeah, he's looking like Uncle Jesse from the Dukes of Hazzard. I don't know what we're doing there. So I'm hoping that that's just a thing, and maybe I'm growing the beard until the arm's at full strength, and then hopefully he'll come back firing the cannon again. That's what I'm rooting for.
So you're not concerned right now, Billy?
I don't think so. I actually think he's going to come back strong, and he's going to be all right, and I think we're going to have a great year with that defense, and if we can find a running back, I think we're going to be in the mix, man. I really do.
All right. I love it. The glass is half full. Maybe you should
always with the Steelers.
Hey,
always. Now, I will say this.
Yes.
Eli Manning doesn't get enough respect. Can we just say that?
I agree, Billy. You're preaching to the choir.
Eli Manning beat Tom Brady at his peak twice in the biggest show on earth. And you know he's still sitting 4 seats away from Archie at Thanksgiving dinner, and I don't think it's right.
How do you know what the seat chart is
Yeah,
there,
who's
Billy?
sitting in the 3?
I see how the family dynamic is. Peyton. It's like Marsha. Yeah, records. I beat Brady twice. You threw wobbling ducks on Denver to win a Super Bowl, and you should be thanking your defense.
Wow.
Eli beat Brady twice in the biggest dance there is.
Do you want to handle that one,
I
Christopher?
mean,
He did.
Michael Strahan and Justin Tuck deserve most of that,
or
Billy.
maybe that rainy, wobbly ball Peyton was throwing against Chicago in that Super Bowl.
That was Dominic Rhodes.
No.
Well, Peyton was given what the
Eli
defense
came out
gave him.
there like Emilio Estevez and Young Guns and said, "I'll make you famous," and took Brady down twice. He should be sitting next to his father on Thanksgiving staring at Peyton.
He might still be, but actually Cupper's probably the one that's right there. He's the oldest, and I think that they both look up to their older brother. Like I once saw the night where Archie received the Summerall Award at the Pat Summerall dinner, and Cooper was the one who went out, or Cupper, as they refer to him, went up there, and both Eli and Peyton, they deferred to their older brother, just like any old family. So
well, that's older brother stuff, though.
Right.
That's probably because he used to torture them when they were little. If he's the older brother, there's been punishment that's been handed out. I just don't think that Eli gets the justice he deserves. I got to see Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning has more endorsement deals than a NASCAR car. Just put stickers all over it. He'll sell whatever you have. Eli does not get. He gets a G-Shock watch commercial. He beats the best ever, and we never hear from him again. I just think it's unfair.
This is just the Steeler Yinzer anti-Peyton angst. Hey, man, you got the ball bounce your way, didn't bounce your way, or, and Big Ben made the tackle of his life. You took out Peyton.
He did.
Yes.
He did. I still didn't beat Brady twice on the biggest show on earth.
There you go. That's Billy Gardell.
I'm saying.
Thanks for the call, Billy.
He didn't make no noise. Went out there and beat him twice.
You're the man, Billy. Thanks for the call. Stay in, stay safe, and enjoy the draft Thursday night. And we'll see you Friday when the Steelers are in the club.
Have a great day. Thanks for having me back on. Everybody, let's enjoy the draft because that's all we got right now. I'm excited. I'm excited to just get a trickle of sports.
We're going to give you a big night of the draft Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and all that good stuff. You take care of yourself, Billy.
Be well, man.
Right back at you, Billy Gardell. Man, I love that guy. He just makes me laugh.
Billy.
That's a Western PA football fan right there, man.
They do not like Peyton.
Doesn't like Peyton. No. Does not like Brady.
He does not like Peyton.
3 days of rehearsals because he had a hoarse voice.
Can you imagine? Fun.
Chuck Lorre, hey, you need to stop.
Okay, let's take a break. We'll come right back and empty the phone banks at 844-204-RICH, number to dial. Thomas Dimitroff has sent in his home draft setting. I also just got John Schneider's. I don't know if I'll be able to turn it around in time.
We want him.
That's how we're rolling here. Next on the Rich Eisen Show. Wow. I mean,
we want everyone.
I'm looking right now.
We want them all, Rich.
Wow. Don, here comes the beautifully fine appointed John Schneider.
We want them all. We want it should be mandatory.
Oh my gosh.
Every single one of them has to show them.
Here we come, man.
I want Belichick's. I want Bill's.
Dude, I don't know if I'm going to,
Rich, come on, text Belichick. I want to see his room.
Yes, actually, you know what, Mike? That might be the greatest idea you've ever had.
There it is.
Text Belichick.
Excuse me.
We got to have that room.
You know what? Bring that up when the NBC audience returns.
Of course.
I'll have a special answer for you.
No doubt.
Oh, look at Don. Did you get what I just sent you? Look at that. It's sent. Sean Payton texts me back. I'll have it tonight.
Oh, this is great.
Right?
See, Rich, we need them all.
Right?
We want everyone.
Dorsey. You got Dorsey's number? That's who we need.
He's not in a draft room, Chris. Spoiler alert. The Browns let him go.
That's my bad. You should just text him anyway. I want to find out how he's watching the draft.
My great friend, by that I mean total idiot.
Do
Just
we want
suggested I
coaches or
call you to
GM?
ask you what your draft setting looks like.
Like, I want to see Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones probably.
That's the one.
That's
I have put a hook in that line.
That's the one I really want.
I put a hook on that line and threw it in the
Jerry,
water. We'll see if I reel that one in. Jerry. By the way, how about Jerry was the one that everybody heard? That's maybe the news that we got from John Lynch more than anything.
Couldn't figure out the mute button. All right, who else? Who else do we need?
Pete Carroll's.
Well, I'm getting the general manager.
That's right. I'm thinking coach. I was going coaches. I'm going coaches. I want to see coaches also. What other coach? I want. I got to see Bill Belichick's. I have to. I bet it's a cell phone. I'm not kidding. He probably has a phone.
An iPad and that's it?
No
iPad.
way.
No
he
chance.
is probably set up to the nines.
He doesn't need. He probably has other people doing it with him.
He probably has NASA satellite
That's what I mean.
technology.
He doesn't need a lot.
What are you
He's
talking about?
He's in the lunar module. He just needs a little small computer. He's fine. He's already done.
He has got a Houston-like setup. Oh, there you go, Rich. Bill O'Brien.
Oh, another one.
That's the one we need.
Houston, we have a problem.
Don, did you get what I just sent?
Houston, we have a problem.
Great. See if we can get it.
I mean, these are.
Should I do this promo by asking things in the form of a question that usually management types would like?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Hey, did you miss any of the Rich Eisen show today? Here's how you can figure it out. You can listen to us every single day on our podcast at podcast1.com/Rich Eisen. And you can also go to our YouTube page, youtube.com/Rich Eisen. You want to hear us? You want to see us on demand, live? My gosh, there's no excuse. 844-204-RICH is the number to dial. Let's take some phone calls. Who's been waiting the longest? That'd be Dan in Boca Raton. What's up, Dan in Boca Raton?
Hey, Rich. How you doing?
Thanks for calling.
Watching all the sports shows.
Yes, sir.
Nobody's one time mentioned Cam Newton and the Dolphins. Wouldn't that throw a wrench into everybody's draft?
It would.
Trade, prospects, everything.
It sure would. It sure would.
Yeah, why not? You're getting a proven all-pro player, MVP, Super Bowl type quarterback. What, you're going to take Tua? Take a guy who's been injured in college that's never held up in college. Roll your dice on Cam Newton, Dolphins fan.
There you go. Dan in Boca Raton right there. It makes sense if you can get your ducks in a row medically. Cam
can post all the Instagram workout videos you want. You got to see him.
But he's not wrong. If Cam Newton is all right, he's only 30 years old. He's got a lot of mileage on him. He's got a lot of mileage on him. I understand he's taken a ton of hits. But why not, indeed? Why not?
Cam is a big X factor this offseason.
Let's go to Tyler in Massachusetts. What's up, Tyler?
Hey, how's it going, Rich?
What's on your mind, sir?
Well, I've spent my entire life growing up in the heart of Massachusetts, right in the middle of New England, so naturally I'm an Indianapolis Colts fan.
Oh, my God.
My friends and family.
Oh, my God.
Wow.
Tyler.
So just put that on your mind of listening to Tom Brady go, go, go while I've been wearing Peyton Manning jerseys my whole life.
Oh, my gosh.
Sorry, bro.
Well, hey, there was a fourth and an inch once, right? It hasn't been all negative.
Was a great time.
Yeah, right. Okay. So what's on your mind?
So everyone's talking about teams that want to move up into the first round. The Colts obviously traded their first-round pick for DeVorest Buckner, a trade that I love. And they've got the 34th pick.
Right.
So what I'm hearing is that some people are considering the Colts being one of those teams that move up into 32 from 34 and maybe get a Jordan Love or Jalen Hurts. What do you think about that?
Yeah, man, I hear you. I think you're going to love Phillip. I don't know. Brissett could be the guy. I know he got hurt last year, and he's got a ton of talent. I don't know how they have evaluated Jordan Love, but that does make sense. You just move up 3 spots. You just cough up a little bit. Get back into the first round and get a quarterback for the future if you do love him or not. Personally, I think they might just stay put and get a nice receiver and go, Phillip, you got to win now. That's the reason why you sign him. You sign him hoping that 2020, knock on wood if you're with me, and thanks for the call, bud, Tyler. You do it now, and you don't go for the future. You do it now. You're hoping that you're going to have a season. You got Phillip Rivers. You win, and you get him one of those weapons that's sitting out there, one of those tremendous receivers. You're talking about great value in the 5th round, as John Lynch said, at the wide receiver position when he was on last hour. You go get one of those guys, top of the 2nd. Put him out there for Phillip and go to work. Bob in New Hampshire. Boy, we're all over New England. What's up, Bob?
Tell Billy that they stole those 2 Super Bowls for Eli Manning.
I will do that, Bob.
Tell him, Bob.
I'm pretty sure Belichick feels the same way. They were all over our guys in those games. The rep was standing right there, and the guy's hugging them, for God's sakes, and they did nothing about it.
Right, I know.
Preach.
What's up?
If I'm going to bring in a quarterback, I'd bring in Alex Smith. Ask him to come back.
I hadn't even thought of him. I don't even know what his readiness
let me
is.
tell you, the kid can still play, I'll bet.
Bob, are you originally from New Hampshire?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
68 years old. Been here my whole life. Watched the first game the Patriots ever played with my father.
Okay.
Live free or die, Bob.
So.
Okay. You sound like you are a born and bred, and I just wanted to confirm that with you. Got anything else? Did you say goodbye to him?
Yeah.
Why?
Mike.
I thought you were done.
I was not done with Bob.
Bob's been waiting his whole life.
68 years he's been waiting. You just said.
The Granite State.
That was a Giant fan with the quick
That wasn't
finger
even a Giant
right
fan. It was just a Patriots
no,
hater. I'm not a Giants fan.
Trigger finger.
I'm sorry about that. Bob, call back.
Oh, God. Jeez.
You can call back, Bob.
He's going to call you back now.
We'll call back.
Wow.
They call back.
Now, I didn't think this would be
a thing.
I didn't think this would be a thing.
It is, though.
But the minute we saw Andy Reid in his draft room, he had us at hello.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Just him sitting there in his desk and his Stairmaster, whatever the heck he's got going on next to him, like he uses it, right?
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry.
I mean, come on.
So we're just seeing one after another, a coach and a general manager. He is. Look at him. Just slip the meal under the door. He's not leaving. He's going nowhere.
Slip the ribs.
All right, and he's going to work it out. Look, he's already working it out. He's got the towel over there. Look at that. That's Andy Reid. That's your Super Bowl winning head coach, Andy Reid, right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Catch a nap.
Look at all that.
He's got 2 desks.
Right. That, however, looks lush compared to Dave Gettleman.
Oh, my God.
Okay? Dave Gettleman is sitting in his Spartan background. He's got as many screens as bottles of Purell on his desk. Okay? That is just every draft prospect all time is in that binder.
Right.
It's not just 2020.
Back
all of it.
1960.
Seriously. There's leather helmets in that thing. That's how long it goes back.
New Rock.
All right.
New Rock.
Do we have Tom Telesco's? Tom Telesco's looks finally appointed. It was the first guy that we saw with tons of screens.
Yes, this one.
Tons of screens.
This was nice.
Lots of screens. He's even able to monitor what's going on CNN. Right?
He had that stuffed animal with the jersey.
He had a moose with the
Lance Allworth.
with the Lance Allworth jersey on it. Yeah. Hold on, Don Bowie's getting to it. It was just beautiful. Beautiful.
Great setup.
Right? I mean, and he's of Los Angeles. By the way, those beautiful. Look at that.
Oh, look at that. It's amazing.
That's like his living room.
Look at that. Beautiful. Somebody's coming
1,
downstairs.
2, 3, 4, 5.
Yeah, anybody can walk in.
He's got 7
Is
screens.
that a ping pong table in front of the CNN
No,
screen?
no. That's a pool table with
it
the
does
top
look like
on.
one. No,
It
it
looks
does
like
look
ping
like
pong.
one.
Yeah, but that could be a pool table underneath too.
Yeah.
They make those.
And then John Lynch. John Lynch was on in hour number 1. By the way, Don Bowie, our producer, wins the contest. We said, which phone is he going to call in from? Because he has 3 landlines on his desk. He said he would call from neither. He would call from his cell phone, and he sure did. Call from his cell phone. 7 screens, 3 phones, right? Also, as I pointed out to him, confirmed an original Leroy Neiman.
Well done by you.
Painting of the catch. It was beautiful. So we decided, you know what? We're going to reach out. There it is.
Look at that.
Beautiful.
7 screens tied with Telesco.
So I just said, you know what? We've loved this so much, and people have really enjoyed seeing what a general manager or a coach is their situation is for draft night because we're all at home. I decided to reach out for some other ones. Which one we're going to put up first here, Don Bowie? Let's put up. We're going to put up Les Sneed's first. You want to put up Les Sneed, the general manager of the Los Angeles Rams. I got this from Les, and as you know, one of my best friends on the planet is his wife, Kara Henderson Sneed. There he is.
Oh, look
right
at that.
there.
Okay. I like that.
So it's like that old Steelers Wheels song, screens to the left of me, phones to the right. Here I am.
Stuck in the middle.
Draft in the middle with you. He's got another 3-phone situation.
I like that look.
By the way, that looks like 8.
I like
That's
that
a lot.
look.
That's a lot.
Let's
Apparently,
see,
this is a
1, 2.
bunk room. You could see the mattresses jammed on the top bunk. You see that?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Those are mattresses, apparently. The mattresses have been removed from the bunk room. He's bunkered down in a bunk room. There he is this morning.
I like that.
Look at that. And look through the door.
He's got it.
By the way, no first-round draft choice. Take a dip.
Exactly.
Yeah. Take a dip.
Come back in.
Take a dip. Towel down. See what's going on.
At least he's got the good logo on
he's got the new logo. Look at that.
That's the good one.
Look at that. There's Les hard at work this very day.
Love it.
Now, Les Sneed was hired from the front office of the Atlanta Falcons, Thomas Dimitroff. I asked Thomas for his setup. Thomas texted me back on a ride. Get it to you in 40 minutes.
Big cycle.
Because he's very healthy.
Big.
Which leads me to believe this may not be part of the setup.
Whoa.
Because you could see on the corner are M&Ms, but look what he did. He knew who he's talking to. Look who he's got.
He has you on the monitor.
He's got me on the monitor.
Got you on the monitor.
He Googled me and put up all the pictures that he had, and he sent me this. We are looking for a speed merchant in the 7th round, maybe the guy on the screen.
Thomas knows his audience.
Look at that.
That's fantastic.
So you got phones on the left that looks like an iPad in front. Look at all the stuff. Look at all the wires on the floor.
Guitar in the corner.
So I guess what he's going to just strum his nerves away
in between rounds.
Not in between rounds. He's trading up. He's
on
hold.
He's
on
hold. In the top 5.
Look at this. That's the
reverse
couch.
angle.
It's the reverse angle.
Whoa.
Look at that couch.
Whoa.
That's like a Caesar throne
Look
right
at
there.
that. The throw pillow.
I mean, look, it's
Come
important
on,
to be
Thomas.
comfortable.
A throw pillow. You know what? That's what Gettleman would sit on.
The throw.
Look at a throw pillow. M&Ms. Come on, Thomas. You're going for a 40-minute ride. You can't text me a photograph of the M&Ms.
Everyone gets a little candy.
I mean, those are probably vegan
Sugar Rush.
M&Ms or something.
Yeah. Everyone gets a little sugar craving.
I reached out to John Schneider, general manager, Seattle Seahawks. Asked him for a photograph.
What do we got?
We got it. Look at that.
Look at that.
Now, this looks like when you're walking into a home that you're trying to buy, and this is the furniture that they have there, right?
That's
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like a showroom floor.
It looks amazing.
It's a showroom for shoes off. It's a shoes off scenario.
Situation.
Shoes off.
Yeah.
I texted him. I love it. All the GMs are including copy. He wrote, obviously not showing our big board that is in front of the table going all the way across the kitchen entrance, meaning that's what the chairs are looking at. So what's on the other side of that board? You know I've learned? You know what's on the other side of the board? In big letters. We're trading out of the first. Trade out of the first.
By the way,
because that's what they do every year. There's no players on it. It just says trade out of the first.
Schneider, that's the living room where Gettleman is in the attic of that house.
Yes, Gettleman's in the attic.
It's like there's a pool and a pond.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
come on. Please don't. Oh, by the way, my bad. There's 2 throw pillows. See, Thomas is sitting on the couch to draft. He's setting up behind the couch. He's a behind the couch guy. There has to be. I'm asking my friends at the Giants. Look, the date's April 13th. This is
Rich,
almost 10 days ago.
Text Steve Tisch.
There's got to be.
Yeah,
they have had to have added something. At least another thing plugged into the wall.
Or like
there's an extra. Everybody's got like multi-plugs.
Yeah.
They got power strips.
This guy's one plug in the wall.
It's going.
And one tiny laptop.
He's plug and play. He's looking for plug and play. That's what he's looking for in the drive.
It's going into the one computer.
I mean, the Giants know. Gettleman knows. He's been roasted for a whole week now. They have to have upgraded.
Well, if he has one more screen, I'll be happy.
Why am I crying over this?
Because it's hilarious.
That is the funniest picture ever.
I'm getting one of the best laughs in a while. By the way, Gettleman's laptop sounds like the name of a great house band, right?
Oh, yeah.
Playing in
they open up at the
Tenafly.
Tenafly.
In Tenafly, in Paramus. Go check out when things open up again.
Route 17.
Gettleman's laptop.
Oh, my God. I mean,
wow.
With the big binder.
I texted Sean Payton, whose response was, I'll have it tonight.
Oh,
okay.
We cannot wait.
So we're teasing for tomorrow's show. I'm loving this.
This is amazing.
Oh, I asked Jason Light. Apparently, he wants to get things set up.
Not fully.
So he's IT-wise, I think he wants to get things. Yeah, because I'll say it. I don't care. I mean, they're. Oh, I got to ask Mayock. That's for sure.
Oh, yeah,
wow,
yeah,
Bowie just got in my ear. Mayock. You know what he'll basically say? Get out of here.
You
Rich,
do. Yeah, he's like.
Rich, you need to text Belichick,
We
buddy.
need Bell.
There's no way.
Yeah, do it,
Okay,
Rich,
look.
please.
You came back from NFL 100. You were all bragging that you're
I was
now.
not bragging.
You're now text
I was
buddies.
not bragging.
You're now text
I
buddies
did
with
not
Belichick.
brag about that.
He's right.
I said that I hung out with Bill.
Bill,
B squared.
Hung out
and said we're BFFs.
And he's an emoji guy.
And no. I said he is delightful, is what I said.
Make the call.
I am not going to call him
Let's
2 days
go.
before the draft and say, you want to take a picture of where you are?
Rich, we have to see it.
Yes.
Yes.
Just
we need
that would be the mother load.
Oh, baby.
We need it. We have to add it.
Or
we need to
or we could just Photoshop him into a Dave & Buster's and say, look what I got. Yeah. I won't do that. Oh, okay. Thanks for taking in this edition of the Rich Eisen Show. I want to thank Albert Breer, John Lynch, Cris Collinsworth, and Billy Gardell for joining us. Tomorrow's program, Michael Strahan will join this show. Gary Vaynerchuk will talk about the All-In Challenge, and he's as crazy a Jet fan as there is.
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh. And more. That'll be on Wednesday's edition of the Rich Eisen Show. We'll see you on our YouTube stream, youtube.com/Rich Eisen Show and NBCSN.